Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the special town council meeting of Wednesday, December 12th, 2012. Would everybody rise to pledge allegiance to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the secretary call the roll?
Councillor Coleman?
Here.
Councillor Quinn?
Here.
Councillor Maylott? Here. Councillor Dayton?
Here.
Councillor Furtado?
Here.
Vice Chair Apolduck? And
Here.
Chair McDonald?
Here. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see the audience full tonight again. Tonight's meeting is really about an executive session. I'm going to ask the town attorney for Orchard Beach just to speak for a few moments on the topic of the executive session.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. I see we have a full house. I wanted to explain a little bit of background about what I was asked to do and how we come here this evening. About a week or so ago, I started receiving calls from your chair, and as you know, under your procedural rules here, the chair is able to contact the town attorney for legal counsel and advice. She expressed some concerns about the manager's contract, tenure of the manager, and those points. And so my advice to her was that rather than try to talk about these things in a vacuum, that it would make sense to try to have a candid opportunity for your counsel, your lawyers, your advisors, to talk with the council directly on any matters related to the contract and how that sits in terms of your charter and state law. So I was asked after that conversation to put together a proposed motion and an agenda item, which is the matter before us here tonight. Now, as you know, under the open meeting law and the freedom of access law, there are certain restrictions and limitations as to executive sessions. But it's my belief as the representative of your legal interests of the town that this would be a good course to go. What I did want to make sure of, it seems to me that the cart may have gotten in front of the horse in regards to what the intent of the executive session is all about. What the statute allows for executive sessions in this context is consultations between a body, the body being the council, and its attorney concerning the legal rights and duties of the body or agency, where the duties of the public body or agency's counsel to the attorney's client, right, and pursuant to the Code of Professional Responsibility might be compromised if it was done in public. Now, if there is a controversy related to the manager and the manager's contract, and we have that discussion in open session, I'm going to have to respect my responsibilities under the Code of Professional Responsibility to be perhaps less than candid with the council, who is the one who oversees the administration of the manager, and you're basically in charge of the manager, in charge of hiring the manager, in charge of overseeing the manager in terms of his positions, his functions, and what you've directed him to do as manager in the town. So that's what we're here tonight to talk about. We are not here to talk about a review of the manager's performance. We're not here to talk about a review of whether or not he's meeting the satisfactory standards one way or another, because there's another provision of the open meeting law that's very specific to that. And it's the one that I think the manager referenced in terms of his wishes to have that session take place in public. And I can't tell you if that's currently the sentiment of the manager or not. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the legal rights and responsibilities of this body, of the town council, assembled as one body and as one voice for the town, however you might feel within the realm of your confidence in the manager or your support of the manager, to understand the legal issues behind his contract with the town, the way that fits into your charter and the way that fits into state law. It's not about these other issues related to appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, or whatever. Now, it could be that at some future date that this council assembled or one of you may wish to advance those issues related to the manager's performance Those issues related to the assignments, duties, responsibilities, obligations of the manager, and your expectations. That could be another matter. So I hope I've defined exactly what the intent of what was asked of me and what this executive session is about. I can answer any questions you might have at this time.
Does council have any questions for the town attorney? Does the council understand what the executive session's about? Based on what he explained?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I'm very confused about the timeline here. On Friday, I received a voicemail saying that you had asked, I guess as a professional courtesy, for the town manager to resign. We had never discussed this matter in council. I was not even asked what my opinion was on this matter. But allegedly, 4 councilors, including the chair, decided that it would be a good idea for the manager to go down the road. Folks, this doesn't pass the smell test. I'm disgusted by the conduct here. The folks in this audience here are the people that pay the bills. And if there's anything that needs to be aired, it can be aired out in front of them, because ultimately, they are the ones who are going to pay the price. If we decide to terminate the manager, and it's found by somebody in a robe to be a wrongful termination, town's on the hook for a lot of money. So I see absolutely no reason that we should be going into executive session. I understand the law. I also understand that it will take 5 votes to go into executive session. Under Title I, Section 405, 3, procedure for calling an executive session. An executive session may be called only by a public recorded vote of 3/5 of the members present and voting of such bodies or agencies. I'll tell you right now, my vote is no. I will not be voting to put this behind closed doors and out of your earshot and eyeshot. Thank you.
Okay, so obviously, there's a lot to talk about, and it is an executive session that we need to talk about with our town attorney, just to know what our legal rights and duties are. Based on Councilor Coleman's preface of why he's voting no, let me just back up and tell you what I said. I received some information by a staff member. So I called all of the town councilors on the very same day about that information. I spoke to 6 out of the 7 of them, and I have my cell phone records to show that. I spoke to 6 out of the 7 of them on that day. It was not pertaining to the resignation of the town manager. It was pertaining to the issue that came to light about something that was done that was outside, in my opinion, the purview of what the manager could do. So I called every councilor and I asked them, what do they feel about this? And the majority of the council said that they felt like it was wrong. And they felt like that the continued employment of the town manager in Old Orchard Beach was something they could support. The 2 that I actually spoke to on that day was backing 150% the town manager's actions based on this one item. At that point, I had consensus of the council to go and ask the town attorney for some advice and what our options were. I was told there's multiple options. And during the course of the conversation, the town attorney told me that out of professional respect, so you don't, land-based, he didn't say that word, sorry. So you don't, throw the town manager under the bus publicly just by trying to get him out. Offer him, out of professional courtesy, the opportunity to resign because the majority of the council did not feel like that he was a good fit at this time. And that's what I did. It was an 8-minute conversation on Friday morning. I was here at 9 o'clock, made an appointment with him first. The first thing I said to him, this is going to be a tough conversation, Mr. Manager. We sat in Louise's office, outside of his office. We pulled her 2 little gray chairs. It was an 8-minute conversation. I offered him the opportunity to resign, or telling him that that's what the council's wishes, the majority of the council said they wanted to do. He said, I'm not.
Through the chair, may I?
I have the floor. I offered.
Based on one issue, you asked him to resign? Give me a break.
And when did this meeting happen where you found the majority of the council wanted him to resign?
It was a phone call that I gave to every councilor that day. You were very, it doesn't matter about that. That was just one issue that culminated.
Okay, what is the date that these phone calls happened? What date was that?
It was in November.
In November.
Yeah, the date that you called, the date that I called you and you didn't answer.
And I returned your call a couple days later, but either way, in November?
That's fine. I'm not on trial.
November?
I'm
But
not-
I just want to be clear. So in November, so then we had an agenda item. We had an wait, just let me. So
It's
then
not
we
the
had
open
an
meeting.
agenda item that was to review the roles and responsibilities of the town manager, which I understand got tabled. Then we were going to have a workshop on it this past Monday. Then that got canceled. And now all of a sudden we're in executive session for which we don't have the majority of votes to do. Is that about the size of it?
Actually, you didn't let me finish, but
I just want the timeline. I just want the timeline.
I was giving you the timeline, Councilor Dayton.
If
and
I
had
could
the
please
floor.
have the timeline,
I had
it'd
the
be
floor.
great.
So when I asked the town manager, and he said that he wasn't going to resign, I told him, well, I'm going to be scheduling an executive session. And he said, are you going to follow the charter and draft a resolution? And I said, yeah, we're going to follow the charter. And then I called the town attorney. I called all of the councilors after that, and I left a voicemail with Councilor Coleman. I called Councilor Quinn, and I called every councilor and told them what I did and what happened and what transpired in those 8 minutes. And that's why we're here tonight. I said we're going to call. I told them I called the town attorney and told them what the situation was and what our best avenue was. And he said we need to consult with our town attorney about our legal rights and duties. And that's why we're here tonight. That was the timeline of what happened. And unfortunately, when you sit up here, sometimes you have to figure out what's in the best interest of Old Orchard Beach. And
Is he rushing people? Is that what the reason for? The open session has not begun.
so the council has to make a determination tonight whether we need to go in open session about the council's rights and duties based on what this meeting was about. Right, Mr. Attorney?
Well, the matter that's been advertised and that is the subject of the agenda was the executive session, so I think that should be taken up first. I do note that this is also a special meeting, and your rules and procedures indicate that you're not to stray from the matter that's been advertised. So if the executive session doesn't carry, then I think that the appropriate recommendation that I will make to the council is that were you to want to undertake further discussions related to the manager, employment issues, standards, or whatever things, it would be up to the council to schedule another meeting for that purpose.
To the chair. You would have every single, I've never seen this room so full. I've never seen this, yeah, well, apparently we haven't been following it to begin with. We didn't have a majority. We did not have a majority to call this meeting. We did not have a majority to call this meeting. To the chair. To the chair.
One at a time, please.
I would just respectfully, you would have I've never seen this room so full. It is clear that the public has something to say. I am certainly not one to turn them away under any circumstances.
Transparency, hello?
I understand, but the issue that...
Face them.
I
Face
understand.
them. You
I'm-
gonna tell all of them that they can't say anything?
Wait,
Madam Chair, may I be heard at some point as well?
Yes,
I
of course.
represent, thank you.
yep.
He represents.
Mr. Pearson.
My concern is that this particular proceeding was called as a special meeting, and under Section 252, it's my job to be technical and sometimes to try to police to make sure that at least you're aware of what the standards are, that no business shall be transacted at the special meeting except as stated in the notice. That's my concern, because I think if we take action and somebody's not pleased with that action, it's not what's pointed out in the notice as the area to be undertaken tonight, then you risk having somebody who's dissatisfied with whatever effort that is, having a better challenge, shall we say. So that's my consultation on that. You know, if you don't want to follow it, you run the risk as to whether or not what people are here to discuss tonight is in the nature of what was exactly announced and consistent with your own procedural rule, Councilor Dayton. That's just my view. I mean, I can.
Through the chair,
Yes.
could I ask the town attorney, what are the specific risks? You seem to be talking in generalities, but what specifically are we risking by not going into executive session?
Well, here's some potentials. This is what lawyers do. We run these things out to try to make sure that we kind of understand some options. Say if there was a discussion here tonight, frank and candid, on the issues related to the contract and our views on the contract, and we were asked, well, what's the percentage gain? You think we'd win on that? You think we'd prevail under those proceedings? What's the law on that? We'd be, in essence, giving legal advice to somebody who may take issue with the final action of the council as assembled. So as a professional, somebody who has bar rules to follow, I have trouble in announcing positions and advice and counsel that may later on work against the best interest of this town with the council assembled representing it. So that's my concern, and that's why I thought it would be advisable, irrespective of what issues you might have, or where your positions may be on the manager, to have a frank and candid conversation in executive session on those issues. That's my view.
I don't think you've answered my question. I want a specific example of the risk, a specific example.
Well, if we were asked to give you consultation on what the terms of the contract are and whether or not there were actions taken under that contract and what the law, how it would apply to that contract, specifically termination provisions under the manager's contract, and that was public, Mr. Richardson, who's representing the town manager here, would have the advice of counsel on that very issue. And I would have trouble satisfying my responsibilities under the bar rules in making such announcements public. However, I also feel at the same time in advising you as the collective council together, that you need to kind of understand what your rights and responsibilities are under this contract should you decide to take action related to the contract. Does that satisfy you, Councilor Quinn?
At the end of the
Not
day,
really.
it's the risk of
No.
the citizenry that pays the bill.
No,
Yours and the one to pay.
Please let Mr. Quinn, you have the floor. Mr. Quinn, you have the floor. Mr.
I-
Quinn, you
I
have the
still-
floor.
I still don't understand. I need specific example. Give me a provision in the contract that you think will come under consideration that could put us at risk if we don't have this executive session.
Mr. Quinn, I have the, Councilor Quinn, I have the contract here in front of me, but you as my client, the town as my client, you as the council, have the right to what's known as the attorney-client privilege in terms of frank and candid communications about risk, rewards, other things related to legal disposition on matters. And I'm struggling because I don't want to advise you publicly as to what my thoughts are about the enforceability of terms of the manager's contract in a public circumstance, because I think it would compromise my ability and the town's ability to defend itself if an action was taken against the town in connection with the manager's contract. So that's my hesitation in doing that as a professional, as I must. But I'll go one step further to see if I can assist you. There are terms under the contract with the manager that are related to your charter. And there are points in your charter that are very direct on certain elements related to the tenure and the employment of the manager. The employment agreement of the manager references that charter, but it has some additional terms included in it. Now, to give you legal advice as to what the impact of those additional terms might be, I would thereby getting into that area which I would prefer not to do in the public domain. Because I think by doing so that I might be compromising your ability in the event that there's a contest later on. I think the gentleman in the back said, hey, what if there's a lawsuit to the detriment of the town? Does that make sense?
Well, the town manager has asked for a public open meeting. And the things that you're going to explain to us in executive session, do they have any more confidentiality than what can be discussed here in an open session as the town manager expects?
I would suggest to you that in a discussion in the public proceeding will be a different context of a discussion. For example, as a client, you might ask your lawyer, what's the percentage of us prevailing on this? What do you think, 50-50? Better than that, one way or another? I would be remiss in commenting that way, candidly and frankly, in a public session.
Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes.
could the attorney clarify what will and will not be allowed in this executive session? Because it's my understanding that no issues, concerns, performance, anything that may have be out there as a rumor, a lie, a nasty email, etc., would be shared. We're just going over the legalities of the charter and the contract and recommendations.
The way we tend to look at things and analyze things is we look at sort of on a state level, your state constitution, your state statutes, your charter, which is like your town's constitution, and then the terms of your ordinances, and then the terms of the specific contract. So our focus would be looking at the interplay between those, and then hopefully being able to identify what options the council might have should they want to go and do something further in regards to the manager's performance, the manager's tenure as your manager.
So that will not be discussed in executive session. I think that's the confusion maybe in the public.
I read the paper too. It wouldn't be things related to your recent audit. It wouldn't be things related to other points that apparently have been published in the papers in regards to concerns that some people might have in regards to the manager's performance. Those particular issues, your manager is entitled to have those in executive session if he wants, in a public session if he wants. Those particular issues would be the subject of a much larger hearing. He's indicated that he would like to have some support of people who work with the town to come in and talk about those particulars. Completely different realm.
Thank you.
We're not talking about that. And the challenge for us is if we go to the executive session, and I think there are those there that will keep us on our toes, is to keep things policed just to the issues that we've identified. And I'll do my best to try to do the same.
To the chair.
Yes.
Mark, when this meeting occurred, where the chair came into your office and respectfully asked for your resignation, did she explain to you what this one concern is? Did she give you an explanation as to what this concern was all about? Because it's still exceedingly nebulous to me.
No.
So nobody knows what the real concern is?
Council Dayton, I don't know what this is about.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So if we were to back off from this whole nonsense of trying to, I guess, look at the either getting a resignation or a termination then we really wouldn't have to be here tonight now, would we? If there wasn't a alleged consensus that we didn't arrive at within the context of a public or even an executive session, we never met on this issue, then we really don't have to be here tonight. And I have to observe that it appears to me that there's a great deal of support in this room for the town manager. And it seems as though there is absolutely, if there is any support whatsoever in here, it is a small minority. There is no support for moving forward in anything that is going to be moving us closer to having this town manager, who has done a great deal of good for this town, be sent down the road. Does that sound like a fair statement?
Well, it's a little hard for me to opine on that. Within the back of my mind, Councilor Coleman, what I'm thinking about is that the typical way that this council proceeds is that if any member wants to put an item on the agenda, they can advance that at the next meeting. So we could vote on the matter that's before us. If it goes into executive session, we have our executive session. We can't take any actions in executive session, as you know. If the executive session doesn't pass, in my view, my recommendation is that the meeting probably should end, because that's what it was called for, and it is a special meeting. That said, any council member could put something on the agenda at the next time to have, I'm not telling you what subjects could be there, but a subject could be in regards to the manager. So I guess it's fair to say that we might not be here tonight, but at the same point in time, I was asked to write the agenda item and a proposed motion for the meeting, and I did so.
To the chair.
Yes.
Can you explain, when you first, your opening remarks, when you first started explaining to all of us why we are here, you mentioned that you received calls. You used the word calls in the plural with an S, and you also mentioned the word concerns, that the chair expressed that she had concerns, and you used the word concerns with an S, plural concerns. However, the chair says you only had one. Can you clarify for me, do you know what the one or more concerns may or may not be? Do you know what they are?
I can tell you the concerns that were relayed to me, Councilor Dayton. The first
Wait. You're going to divulge what they are? It'll be the first time we've all heard it, so, okay.
I can tell you.
And there were multiple, not, because she said there were one. You're saying there was more than one? And the town manager doesn't know what they are. And I don't know what they are.
I would characterize them as plural concerns. The first concern I had was in regards to the recent audit that's been ongoing. And as I understood it, there were matters identified in the audit that raised questions as to the fiscal house in order for the town. And so I was asked to have some further conversations with the auditor in regards to that audit, so that I was apprised of what they were doing and what they were looking at. So that was one issue that was discussed in regards to issues. And there was questions about the manager's involvement in the financial operations of the town of Old Orchard Beach that were brought to my attention. Not understanding those, not understanding the level of the audit, not understanding what those questions were about. I had a brief telephone conversation with Mr. Smith and Mr. Nadu about what they were finding. And of course, my biggest concern was what recommendations they had to address the issues that they were finding. So that was one issue.
That's two.
Yes, another issue that was brought to my attention was the attendance of the manager in the town office.
That's it?
And another issue that was brought to my attention was questions in regards to raises that had recently been made to staff members in the town.
The merit increases for the staff that haven't gotten a raise? for the staff that haven't gotten a raise in about 4 years, the merit increases?
Yes.
Based on evaluations and the evaluation process that was just put in place?
I don't know the
That-
details. I just, the broad issue was brought to my
So
attention.
that's what all this is about, is raises for the staff. Okay.
So those were the issues that were brought to my attention. They were connected with the manager. My suggestion was that we should meet as an assembled group and talk about, before we get into investigation of the issues, talk about the rights and responsibilities of the town council assembled in regards to the service of the manager.
Did you share that information with his attorney?
Pardon?
Did you share this information with his attorney? Just a question. Question.
Wait, one at a time, please. One at a time.
Mr. Richardson and I have spoken on the phone. I believe yesterday Mr. Richardson called me to talk about things, received his correspondence, and I think we called him back. My colleague Glenn may have spoken with him earlier today.
Mr. Crawford, do you think that it's appropriate for a town councilor, if there's issues pertaining to personnel, to talk about them with the public in general? Personnel matters.
Madam Chair, we have no objections to those items being discussed here at all. We have nothing to hide, and we welcome a little bit of transparency here tonight.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I have 16 issues and concerns that I've yet to share. And I will await legal consult in order to when and how. Anybody that knows me knows I'm having the hardest time keeping my mouth quiet about my concerns, but I will not jeopardize this town legally without consulting with the attorney on how and when to move forward.
Please, please, we're trying to have it's been very cordial so far.
Will anybody but the town's attorney be allowed to speak tonight?
Okay, the item on the agenda is an executive session.
Will anybody but the town's attorney be allowed to speak?
Technically, the council can't. Wait.
Through the chair.
Time out, please, just a minute.
Just a question.
I know, I was told that what he just told us is what I was told today. Because I knew the chambers would be full. I knew that people would be here snickering. I knew that.
This is not snickering. This is anger.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Boutelle. Thank you.
Reached by you and yours.
Thank you.
You represent us, not yourself in your own special interest. I believe there's a question. And we're thinking about firing you right now. The law only allows discussion for the advertisement of the newspaper.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Manager.
may I be allowed to say something?
Absolutely.
I have my attorney here, is waiting patiently, while these other people are waiting patiently. And I've been waiting since Friday to say something. I'd like my attorney to step to the microphone now and represent me.
Madam Chair and members of the council, I know you have a very difficult decision before you tonight. It is true, my name is John Richardson. I do represent the town manager. And what I've heard today, I think, is, as the police officers in the room and those who've served in the military will probably understand, the ready, aim, shoot approach that's been taken here without target acquisition, understanding what it is that are the concerns, and even having addressed those concerns with the town manager, do not make your decision tonight right. Basically, if you talk to the town manager about any of these concerns, he would address these concerns, and you would actually have something to talk about in executive session. Unfortunately, you have put the cart before the horse. You have really put him in a very difficult position. He has nothing to hide. He wants to answer every one of these allegations that have been leveled against him in the press. And that's the most troubling part when we see articles like this, OOB counsel, mole manager's fate in private. We can't help but think there is a bait and switch going on here tonight. You want to go into executive session to talk about a contract? It's his contract. You want to go and talk about the terms of the contract? They relate to him. We're asking that you not go into executive session, but if you do, make it public. This group here has a right. They pay his wages. Whatever you decide to do going forward, whether you decide to get rid of him or whether you decide to keep him, it's going to impact the people behind us. We have nothing to hide. We want transparency. This is the fourth manager in 4 years. Something's going on wrong here in Old Orchard Beach. All I heard, and I heard this from the town attorney, and I respect both of them very much, but they didn't know the details, though they heard concerns. I don't know how you can possibly divorce yourself tonight by going in and talking about a so-called contract that it doesn't relate to the town manager. Of course it does. That doesn't impact him. Of course it does, without having any of the details that, to help, I think, inform you. It just doesn't make sense. We believe we have a very strong case. We've given it to the town attorneys. We've given it to you as the council, or asked the attorneys to give it to you, a very strong written case as to why we think this matter must be in public. And we don't fear. The only one's prejudiced today by a transparency is my client. And he stands ready, willing, and able to answer any question you have for him. And unfortunately, I think he deserves that respect. And unfortunately, it hasn't been given to him. What we've heard, and I've served in elected office before, I know how difficult your job is. I respect every one of you for what you're doing. But what I respectfully submit to you, what you're doing tonight is what you're basically taking this man's reputation and tarnishing it. You're dragging him through the mud with what I understand is nothing more than I don't know details, or I have concerns. And I haven't yet spoken to him, but I'm going to go into executive session to talk about how I terminate his contract, about what kind of percentages I have in terms of whether I can succeed or not. I just think we're working at it backwards. If we would step back for a moment, all of us, because I think all of you have the best of intentions. I think we got sidetracked here. I think we got horribly off track. And one of the reasons for it is I think that we didn't sit back. A number of you are new councilors. You're a newly constituted council. It would have been, I think, appropriate, not to preach because it's not Sunday, but the fact is it would have been appropriate to sit and talk with your town manager and ask, I haven't been on the board yet, or I haven't been on the board in a while. Please tell me what's going on. I'm hearing concerns. The only thing I know is that he came off probation in August. In September, you had a vote. He had an acceptable job performance. He was given a pay raise. And then all of a sudden, he comes to December, and we're here. What's happened in between September and December? I get it. It's an election, right? And we understand, we really do understand elections, all right? We understand that some are in, the tide goes in, the tide goes out. But issues of cause and issues of performance, I think if it were me, and I think cooler heads should prevail, those are matters that ought to be discussed with the manager. And he has an open door policy, and he wants desperately to talk to you about it, but he wants to do it in public. And why? Because his reputation is put at risk. The things that have been said in the press about him are damaging to his credibility, and he wants to right the wrong here. He wants to explain, not just to you, but to the people of this community, that he has been following the charter. He has been doing what the ordinances have told him to do. He has been doing what the council asked him to do. Now we have a new council. If you want to go into a different direction with this new council, and you want to inform the manager as to what he ought to be doing, and there is a direction or changing in direction, let him know. He'll do what you want. He serves you. But don't blame him for serving a prior council. Don't blame him for doing a good job, because you get complaints and people don't like it. Don't blame him for change, because I'm telling you what I'm hearing around Southern Maine is it's about time. Be proud of being from Old Orchard Beach now, because changes are happening that are improving this community dramatically. Drugs are being eliminated. Drugs are being eliminated. People are talking about investing downtown. Your other communities around you and surrounding you are applauding you for the work that you're doing. Embrace it. Embrace change. Don't object to it. And this manager will take you through to better times. And when you get a chance, and we have an opportunity, and I really encourage you to defeat this motion to go into executive session, you will be harshly criticized by the public. You can see it. It's palpable. You can feel it right here. When that happens, then you have a chance to hit the reset button, and you have a chance to sit down with this manager and do the people's business. I'm begging you tonight, please do that. It's in the best interest of this community. It's in your best interest. It serves my client's interest. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Freddie. Go ahead, Freddie. You have something to say? Go ahead.
Wait, I just...
Go ahead.
We need
Go
to make...
ahead, Freddie. Go. Are you
We need
really? 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 You're going to tell him no?
We need to make a determination first. The council needs to make a determination whether we're going to open this publicly so that everybody in here
Through
can
the
have
chair, through the
have-
chair, point of information.
Can I-
Any meeting is an open meeting until it is voted into an executive session.
Thank you, Councilor Coleman. Thank you, Councilor
It is
Coleman.
in public.
Well, I hope what I have to say is going to warrant all that support. But I'm happy to be alive at a time and place where I have seen democracy come up to work to prevent a coup d'etat. Now, after you 4 councilors apologize to this man, and he accepts your apology and stays on, maybe we can forget this whole thing. I don't know. But I hope you guys have learned a lesson, that you don't come into office with an agenda which is just your own. I don't know what you had in mind, but I think we can all go home now if you guys would say, sorry, we made a mistake, or oops, whatever you want to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maria Turner. My question is, if the meeting you decide to keep it public and Mr. Pearson wants transparency, are we going to be able to discuss all the complaints that have been filed with the town? Because I have been waiting since I went in on April 23rd and spoke with Louise Reed for an appointment with the town manager. Now, she told me that he doesn't keep office hours, so I left my name and phone number and told him that I wanted to discuss the illegal fight club in town where the men are getting the kids drunk and betting on them. Now, I documented this on Friday, April 20th. Yes, I made them stars of my videos and went to the police, and they've done nothing. Now, I think that the safety of the children should be a concern here. I also sent an email to Councilor Quinn months ago asking for some extra time to come to the council and present my evidence, and he wrote back to me I was limited to 5 minutes. I have documentation of everything. Now, can we discuss this in the open meeting? Because I'm all for a public meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Crawford? When we spoke most recently, you said if things are said publicly that could be damaging to a person's character.
It can be, and that's what the concern related to the open meeting law and the executive session tries to address.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable as the town's attorney to let the council, to let the council go through everything that each individual counselor has, good and bad, pertaining to why all these people are here tonight. Knowing and letting all the citizens in Old Orchard Beach step up one at a time to talk about their issues. Do you feel comfortable doing that? Does that open the town up to anything? I mean, this is going to be laughed at, I'm sure, by the citizenry in here, especially the one with the Impeach McDonald sign. Appreciate that one. But is there any way, is this something that should be done publicly is this going to harm the council and the town in any way?
I think I alluded to it earlier, is that the specific scope of what was announced as the agenda item here tonight is limited to the going into executive session to talk about the legal rights, duties, and responsibilities of the council related to the continuation or termination of the manager's contract. So if we stray away from that, I have a problem in that we're starting to go into an area that's not been announced as the subject of tonight's meeting. There may be people here that might be interested in the other aspects of some future agenda. For example, were we to go into the specific allegations related to the manager's performance and the 16 points that Councilor Bulldog wished to bring forward, we would be straying away from the announced scope of tonight's meeting. So my recommendation, and I just asked Attorney Richardson what his thoughts were too, is that we thought that this really should be, if the subject is going to change here at this point, and we're going to have an open meeting on the issues related to the manager, we should put that on agenda, a properly noticed agenda, and hold a properly noticed meeting at a future date. That would be my recommendation. And that can be public. I mean, the one point that I also wanted to be sure that everybody understands, it's up to the manager as to whether or not that meeting takes place in the public. He has indicated his preference at this point in time, I think as reinforced by his attorney this evening, but when and if that meeting is scheduled, we would again seek that type of confirmation to make sure that what happens is in accordance with the statutes and the protections that are afforded. If we don't do those things, we end up creating a host of other issues that are side phrase that I couldn't suggest that we put the town through.
Okay, so what is the will of the council?
Through the chair,
Yes.
before we have any vote on going into an executive session, I think that we have quite a few people in the room that probably would like to say something about what the whole process that's been going on here, and probably speaking to the abuse of process that has been going on here on the part of our town council chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. We can actually, if you want to add that to an agenda item at the next meeting, because we can't, can we discuss that tonight?
I think again, it's outside of the realm. You have your limitations related to your rules of procedure. No business to be transacted at the special meeting except as stated in the notice. So that's my suggestion to the council.
And having the people speak to that, this motion, would that be out of order? To have the people actually speak about it before we go into executive session?
I think they have a right to say what they want to say about the motion.
They can
And
speak
the
on the
process.
subject of the motion, but I think
the
that
process.
the other point that was raised, I think Councilor Coleman, in some fairness, you were, I think, suggesting that there could be an open mic in terms of the activities of the council. I'm not sure that that's directly related to the subject of that's been advanced here this evening.
The motive of the chairman could be relevant, could it not? To address the motion?
Well, I'll leave that to the pleasure of the council if they wish to go down that direction.
I'm not going to turn these people away if they have something to say about the motion.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I'm not comfortable turning Again, I've never seen this room so full, and I'm not comfortable turning the public away if they have something to say about this motion.
The counsel that I would have then is that if the subject of discussion is wish to go into public session, that people limit their comments on the proposed motion and their views of whether or not, on that particular issue. I think if we start to stray a little bit further here, we run into some problems related to what, it's just fairness to the other folks who might also want to come in and comment on new matters that haven't been duly announced on the agenda.
Through the chair, I'd have no objection to it being restricted to the motion and possible motives therein for calling for this executive session or potential executive session.
I think we should probably we should probably just go with the agenda item, call for the vote on the executive session to see if the council's willing to at least go into executive session first, since that's what we're here for. So, does anybody want to make a motion pursuant to the actual agenda item?
Point of clarification, typically if people have something to say about a motion before the vote, they are allowed to do so. So that's what we're going to do, correct? That's right. That's what we're going to do, correct? You can call for the vote, but they still have a right to say something if they want to talk about the motion.
Madam Chair, Attorney Richardson has suggested that perhaps this might be a time for a break.
No.
So anyhow, I was just advancing that.
I don't have a vote.
So I was advancing that as a professional courtesy to Attorney Richardson, so.
Okay, I'm confused. I feel like we're negotiating already. We should call, I need to call, the vote we should call for the vote at least on what we have, if we're going to go in executive session or not.
I think it's time for you to let your citizens speak. Yeah, let us speak.
Take the mic. Against the, you need to come to the mic.
Wait, 1 second, please. One at a time. You have to.
Apparently the lack of knowledge of Robert's rules. Yes. And I think there should be someone here who understands Robert's rules, or you should have a copy of Robert's rules on your desk in front of you, or study it. And very few, if any of you, understand how to conduct a session.
To the chair.
Yes.
That question has come up before, and it's always been a little confusing to me because we actually have our own, believe it or not, we have our own rules, and seeing an opportunity to ask this question publicly, given that the council has their own set of rules, where does Robert's rules fit into that? How does that tie into the rules of order for the council? How does Robert's rules fit into that? Does it take precedence? Which is which?
In the normal course,
I'd be happy to follow Robert's rules, but I've been following the council rules because I thought that's what we're supposed to do.
you have your own procedural rules, which are the council rules, and sometimes when there's a question related to those rules, we refer to Robert's Rules of Order as a guidepost.
Thank you.
On interpreting those rules. I would also suggest to you that your own rules of procedure and decorum are meant to facilitate the orderly conduct of business. Sometimes they get cumbersome, sometimes they get detailed. They're not meant to be a parliamentary badminton match where one person has a better spin, shall we say, on the birdie. In any event, before the discussion is usually entertained, there's a motion that's put on a floor, and there's a second. I don't think there's been a motion yet as to whether or not we should proceed into executive session if that was the pleasure of the council. If there is no motion and there's no action that's taken, then the motion obviously fails.
So I'm going to read this. Number 1, executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 4056E, concerning the town's legal rights, duties, and responsibilities related to the continuation or termination of the town manager's contract, with possible discussion and action to follow.
So moved.
Do I have a second, counsel? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
For discussion. To the chair.
Go ahead.
Seeing the vast majority of the public, like I've never seen before here, I yield my time to anyone who cares to make a comment about this motion.
Through the chair. Through the chair.
Yes.
I've notified several residents of Old Orchard Beach that the executive session, there would be no discussion regarding performance, people, names, etc., and that people didn't need to attend, and that if in the future any action was taken.
Please.
To the chair, those conversations have already happened in the press and in the public. They've already happened. Let's be honest. Those conversations have already happened.
It is my understanding that we're here to discuss item 1 and nothing else.
We have a motion made and seconded. Will the secretary call for the vote?
Through the chair.
Will the secretary call for the vote, please?
Counselor Coleman.
No.
Counselor Quinn.
No.
Counselor Maylott.
Yes.
Counselor Furtado.
Yes.
Counselor Dayton.
No.
Vice Chair Vice Chair Bolduc.
Yes.
And Chair McDonald.
Yes. That obviously doesn't carry because you need 5 votes to go into executive session, so it fails. So, where does that lead us? Yes, that's it, right? So, we only have one issue. Nope.
You avoided the issue, not let the people talk.
Nope. What I will say to this is we will let the people talk. We'll have another meeting. When
It's time for you to resign.
What does our town attorney have to say on this topic of what just happened? Are you
capable of running a meeting without him? Madam Chair, if I might.
Yes, Mr. Crawford.
At this point, the motion did not carry, so there will be no executive session regarding the proposed discussion with the town attorney on the contract issue or the town's duties and rights related thereto. Your announcement indicated that there may be discussion and action thereafter, but the motion didn't carry. Again, I would go back to what I think this is a specially called meeting. It was narrowly defined in terms of the context of what would be discussed here tonight. I've even taken counsel with Attorney Richardson on that regard. My suggestion to the town is that I understand there's a lot of people here who would like to make presentations, have things to say that they would like to bring forward, but I think it would be inappropriate to do it at this evening's meeting, and that another meeting should be duly scheduled for that purpose, if that is the pleasure of the council.
Through the chair. I would have no objection to listening to the townsfolk as long as we do not take any action tonight. I see no harm in listening.
As far as procedure?
Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
Sir, I just have this one question.
I will yield to you.
Thank you, sir. Pat Brown, Old Orchard Beach. The question I have is this. If in fact this, for some reason, can't be allowed for us to all speak during this meeting, I would think that it would be allowed for the public to hold its own meeting tonight, here and now, say what it is we would like to say, and council is welcome to stay or leave. It's our town hall, it's our equipment, it is our personnel. I feel that that is what we're here to do tonight, and I think we need to be heard, and we will hold our own meeting. Everybody? Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yes.
I agree that these lovely folks who have all come out should be heard tonight, and I have no problem sitting here listening to that.
I also, I just want to ask, does the townspeople in the audience want to hear all of the issues publicly that we have? Okay.
We need to ask Leo for that.
Mr. Crawford, is that something that you think is advisable?
I already said it isn't. Didn't we already have this answered?
He's gonna take all the place, but we won't have a chance to talk. Is he the only one allowed?
I think I've been clear in terms of what my suggestion is, but I went back and wanted to check in regards to Councilor Coleman's statement about, in other words, basically having a sounding board type meeting. And your rule related to special meetings is that no business be undertaken. It causes me a little bit of pause in terms of having a public sounding board, whether or not that's business. But I will defer to the council and suggest that obviously no action be taken, but if you wanted to have, as you do sometimes, having the opportunity for people to come and address the council during your normal meetings, if that would be your pleasure, then so be it.
Right, because the motion was voted down, no action can be taken tonight anyway, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Are you going to air the issues that you're concerned about?
What I would like to do, I guess, is ask every person, one at a time, if they would like to come up, they can address the council. Now, we're going to keep decorum. We're going to make sure that everybody's voices, let's just keep decorum and listen to everybody, pros and cons, no booing, no clapping, just let the people speak and say what they have to say. Is that agreeable to the audience? Yeah, and we're gonna.
And do they need to stay on the topic?
Okay. Is that something that is that okay for the audience? Okay. Okay. So do we have? Yes. Yes, and I would like to have, and the other thing that I would like to ask, if this is going to be allowed, is that when any issues that are addressed the entire council, not councilors individually, because that's what generally we do at council meetings. It's the entire board. It's not just individual councilors. So, yes, Miss.
Oh, hi. I'm Mariah Boutsier. I live in town. I go to the high school. My issue right now is we all voted you up here. Well, I didn't, because I'm obviously not old enough, to give us a voice in the town, in the power here. And right now, you're a little bit shutting us out.
Yes.
I just wanted some Roxanne Fournette. And what was her name again?
Mariah.
Mariah, okay. I wanted a little clarification on, you said one of your issues with the town manager was the audit. Now, the audit takes like 6 months to do before it comes out. How long has the town manager been here?
The town manager was hired on February 15th, 2012.
February 15th, 2012. So 5 months during that audit, you have concerns as the town manager.
It was actually the entire audit report.
Right, well, I understand. I've heard some of the issues regarding the audit and the lack of 1099s and other improprieties, but they didn't have anything to do with this town manager. They had to do with the last town manager. So are you going to hold this town manager accountable for the mistakes of the last town manager? Just a question.
Okay. The audit report. I brought it. So let's go over it.
The whole thing right now?
Yeah.
It's just
Well, why don't we just go with the managers, the...
The auditor's here, by the way.
That's okay.
He's willing to speak if you want.
That works for me. I'd rather hear from the
Through the chair,
horse's mouth.
it would be entirely appropriate to listen to the auditor to give us the audit findings rather than have it secondhand.
Well,
Through the chair.
one moment.
Where is the auditor? Can you come up to the podium, please?
Ron Smith, Principal, RHR Smith and Company. Bruce Nato, one of my associates with the company. We're the outside auditors, and the first time we've had the opportunity to audit the town of Old Orchard Beach. So I don't know what the legal ramifications are. I really don't want to get into a lot of details, but certainly we have been doing the audit now, I believe, since September of 2012. And given I think, transparency by your management and working with us to try to establish what some of the best practices are in the town of Old Orchard Beach, given the issues that we came in on with some of the very publicized matters with the library, et cetera, we certainly have some concerns. But we believe that your management is part of the solution. We have found your department heads clearly very responsive to our needs and our requests. We have found that there's a lot to understand in the town of Old Orchard Beach, and I'm not sitting here and prepared tonight to talk about a lot of those things, because there's a lot of things I still don't understand. But we have furnished you a letter. There are some issues that we have obviously identified. I think that a lot of the practices here didn't happen overnight. I think there's some long-standing practices that date way back in the town of Old Orchard Beach, and as I have talked with your legal counsel, as I've talked with your council chair, we recommended that a solution to this problem sooner than later was to get the right parties into the room so that we could talk about these problems, and I think that it was actually at the request of your manager that that actually happened as well. So we look forward to any opportunity to taking what it is that we know and working with you and getting to the best practices here in Old Orchard Beach.
Mr. Smith, can you clarify exactly what that letter is? Because my understanding that it was a draft, and there is no, the audit is not complete.
There is a letter, a preliminary letter.
Preliminary.
Preliminary, correct.
Key word, preliminary, not final, not done.
We are not close to being done here in the town of Old Orchard Beach.
We are not close to being done here in the town of Old Orchard Beach. Okay? It's critical. That's a critical point. This whole thing has been blown up about the audit, and it's not even done. And in fact, when one of your associates met with us, he said he'd only been here for a week and a half. A week and a half.
I would say that's a fair statement, and I've been here for about a week.
A week and a half. You don't find all your problems in a week and a half, particularly all the problems that we have. Some of us who know where the ghosts are. Thank you.
Mr. Smith? Ron?
Yes.
We spoke briefly on the phone. The preliminary audit letter that Bruce, Mr. Nato, gave us has some pretty significant issues listed in it.
We would agree we have some concerns.
Okay, and we probably should read it publicly so that we know what it says.
I'm certainly prepared to respond to to whatever it is you guys want to talk about.
Well, we can only go based on what we were told during that executive session.
Listen, I'm not prepared to talk about that, nor is my associate. I wouldn't advise him to talk about whatever happened in executive session. I wasn't here.
No,
I wasn't privy, but we certainly aren't going to share any of those.
Well, I did. It was a week and a half worth of work.
So please,
Madam
one
Chair,
more, please.
Madam Chair, to this point, to this speaker here, I just have one question, Mr. Smith. Since I started here on February 15, 2012, with your preliminary audit, does it appear that all of the steps I have taken that you have observed have been according to the best management practices and in an effort to fix problems that I inherited on February 15, 2012?
I'd say what's a fair statement to say is the first time that we had met and having about a 2-hour conversation and bringing forth some of the very issues that we were talking about and your concerns, I would say that it's fair to say that you had your concerns, that you had put some of the best practices you could available and made us very well aware of what some other practices need to be implemented.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, Madam
Chairman? Would you also agree that you have found no wrongdoing on my part since February 15th of 2012.
I would say it's fair to say that we have found no wrongdoing on your part.
Thank you, sir.
So,
A baseless allegation that you made, Madam Chairman.
okay, so let me read this first paragraph of your audit report, since,
And just so we're clear, that's not an audit report. That's a letter from us to you.
Wait, I'm
in
sorry.
Be
regards
clear
to-
about
Wait,
that.
wait,
Say
time
that
out.
again. Say that
That's
again.
not our audit report. That's a letter from us to you saying, here we are, here's what we're doing, and here's what we found.
Yes.
So far.
yep, no problem. So,
It's not the audit report.
general ledger accountability. In the primary checking account. We noted that the primary checking account has not been properly reconciled at June 30th, 2012, nor during much of fiscal 2012. It appears the last time this may have been reconciled dates back to October of 2011. The client provided reconciliation noted a variance of over $49,000, while our initial assessment has the variance at $88,000. Our initial work revealed journal entries during the year adjusting cash through miscellaneous revenue, forcing agreement with the bank. Lack of proper reconciliation results in errors not being detected and therefore corrected. Based on the issues noted at with the June 30th reconciliation, reconciliation and inquiry, it is our understanding that the primary checking account is not currently reconciled. Our recommendation is the town immediately commits the necessary resources to get the primary checking account properly reconciled, not only at the June 30th, but through the October 12th statement, October 2012 statement. In addition, procedures should be implemented to ensure reconciliations occur within 10 business days after month end. Adjustments to cash should be posted by someone other than the person performing the reconciliations. That was paragraph 1. So, as a counselor, we asked, when the council sat in the audit meeting, we said, how could this happen? And we were told, well, I inherited this. I inherited this. This is what we were told. Well, I called Jill Eastman because I'm like, I must be a pretty...
The person who left the mess, you called her to say, oh, good.
Well, she was here for 7.5 years.
But she left the mess.
And let me just write what she said, and let me read what she said. It is. To policy and procedures that were not being followed.
By her.
Per our conversation today, I just want to summarize for you the condition of the finance department and records when I left Old Orchard Beach last November. I had completed the audit with the auditors for the fiscal year of 2011, and they had the draft report, which I had completed. All of the FY12 transactions through October were posted and reconciled when I left. I was in OOB for 7.5 years, and we never had a problem with our audit. Every year I prepared a set of work papers that reconciled all of the accounts to the general ledger, and I prepared the financial reports for review by the auditor. We never had qualified opinion or a bad management letter while I was there. We had procedures in place for all accounting functions, which are updated every year for the audit and then reviewed by the auditors. I gave the town a month's notice because I want to make sure that everything was in order when I left. I don't know what happened since I left, but I do know that everything was as it should be through the end of October 2011. Sincerely, Jill Eastman, Finance Director, City of Auburn, Auburn, Maine.
Through the chair.
Wait.
This is the finance director that was not sending out 1099s as required by IRS regulations for the tax year 2010.
That was the auditor that everybody every year.
I'm talking not the auditor. I'm talking about the treasurer.
Yep, and that was the finance director that was running the town for 7.5 years. She was not asked. She wasn't. She wasn't asked to leave. She left on her own volition.
Thank you.
The second part of your audit.
You need to resign.
To the chair, can I just, okay, let's just, I mean, this is tough stuff here, okay? So let me just clarify one thing with regard to that first paragraph. When we first met, with the auditor who wanted to express concerns. I specifically asked the question what the dates were of these reconciliations, these forced agreements to reconcile with the bank, and the answer was, and I wrote it down because I knew it was important, late fall, summer of 2011. Late fall and summer of 2011, several months prior to this town manager's hiring. So let's be completely factual and let's be completely clear. This is very preliminary. The chair asked for this letter to be sent to her directly. She then chose to share it with the rest of us. That's what this letter is. That's where this letter is coming from. This is a draft letter. The auditors are not done. But when it comes to this forced reconciliation, it clearly did not occur when this town manager was in office.
Through the chair?
Yes.
This letter does indicate that the bank statements were reconciled through October 2011. And then since then, that's where the problems have developed.
I'm not prepared to say
No,
that.
that is not true. That is not true.
I'm prepared to say that they look like they were reconciled through October 2011, but we're smarter now since we wrote that letter, and we have some concerns, and I'll just leave that
Exactly.
Thank you.
It takes much longer than a week and a half to figure this mess out. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Cole.
I just want to read a sentence from the, or two sentences from the summary that I think will put this preliminary audit letter in perspective to the citizens of our town. Two sentences in the summary section. Excuse me. Our observation is adequate controls have never been in place to detect these miscues and thus prevented corrective action from being taken. Second sentence. Although the town in the past few months instituted many needed controls, it appears more controls will be necessary.
And you want to get rid of the man who put these controls in place? Yeah, really? Yeah, okay. We need to move forward, folks, not backwards.
Is this chairman not the one that was responsible for running the new finance director off in the first place? Come up to the podium, Chair. We're allowing people to...
All right, let's not take pot shots. I don't know that it's worthwhile to go through the rest of this preliminary draft letter. I think we need to wait for the auditors to finish their work. Give us a complete list of everything that we do need to put in place. We know it's a mess. I'm the one that kept asking the previous auditors to do internal controls, to look at our internal management controls, and he continuously refused. Go back and look at the videotape of December 20th, 2011. I was the only one. I've been saying it for years. We need to let these auditors do their work. They need to come back when it's complete. Then we can figure out what's what and what to do. But jumping the gun like this just makes us all look bad, and I'm sorry for that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could I ask the auditor a question?
Sure.
As you're aware, Mr. Smith, Bruce Nato was at that meeting, and you've heard that he was asked a question by the chairman. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are we? And his answer was a 9. Can you qualify that on your experience? Because you were the one that went out to visit the department heads and looked at different information with me prior to Mr. Nato going in to speak to the council.
Bruce Nato has
an executive session issue?
There was...
Actually, the question specifically was, and Bruce is here.
And I don't know.
The letter, wait, the letter's been made public, okay? The letter's been made public. The letter's been made public.
Yeah.
So
I would like to inquire as to how.
The question I asked during the audit meeting that we had with the auditor was, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being bad, where are we? And Mr. Nato, and he said to refer to him as Bruce, he said, you're at a 9.5.
You're in the 9s.
You're at a 9s in Old Orchard Beach. On a scale from 1 to 10, he said we were in the 9s. That put up a red flag in my mind and in much of the other councilors' minds
Would you
that
like
we
me
had
to,
issues.
Would you like me to respond to that?
I'd like Mr. Smith to answer that.
So just a couple of things, and Bruce can speak for himself. He's certainly made the statement, but Bruce and I haven't had a chance to talk about it. I'm well aware of what the state of Old Orchard Beach is, at least that I've seen, here right now. I think given on the fact before we walk in the door, you know, and on the heels of what happened with your library, on the heels, if you keep reading of what's in that letter, I would think it's a fair statement for anybody to make an assessment that the state of the state on a scale of 9 to 10, given all that, would be a 9. Having said that, you know, I think it's been a 9 for a very long time in the town of Old Orchard Beach, and I think when that question's been asked, you know, as of whatever the date it was asked of my colleague, I think it's fair to say that that 9 could go back long before this fiscal year started.
Sure, and we asked him that during the meeting,
And I hope his answer was?
No, what we asked him was, is this how we were? Should we go back at the old auditors and see, because maybe we've been fed the wrong information all these years? And he said, we really can't speak to that because we only looked at this one fiscal year. That was the answer, because we asked him if we should go back to Runyon and Kirsten and Willette and go back and after them, because they've been charging us $18,000 a year for our audit. And we had that discussion, because I told him, I quipped with him because you guys are less. And I said, for all these years, they've been charging us $18,000 for our audit. And he said, well, we only looked at this one fiscal year. I can't speak to that.
Well, a couple of things. I think we're charging you the same, so I can't speak for that. And I'm not prepared to comment about auditors and their other auditing practices. We are who we are. You know, we're here to understand and what they did and what they tried to understand. I'm not here to speak for them or even offer to put myself in their shoes.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions about the status of this audit? Does the public have any questions about the status of this audit? Because apparently that's one of the issues, one of the concerns about the town manager. I'm just wondering, does anybody have any?
Through the chair, Ron, just so I'm clear, and so I think the public is clear, what you said is the problems at Old Orchard Beach are long-standing as they relate to the
I feel like I'm being
audit.
interrogated.
Yeah, you are being interrogated. Friendly, though. But as I understand it, these are long-standing problems.
Correct.
Okay. And that what we do know is that since the town manager has been here, he has taken positive steps to improve what we need to do to make a better audit. Am I right?
Correct.
That's all I want to know.
Ron, one quick question. So, did you look at more than 1 year of our financial records?
We are in the process of going back to the previous year because we have some concerns.
Okay, but did you, at the time of
what I asked him to do.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You feel like, in your professional opinion, you can make a determination on the previous year's audit?
No, I can't. That's why I'm going to go back and look at the previous year so that I can understand it better. I'm not prepared to sit here and talk about you engaged us to do 2012 when we got to go back to the previous year.
No,
and
I
look
agree.
at that. There's an issue.
It's fine. I'm just asking if you've done that yet.
We have not done it yet, but we will. We certainly have. We think it's in the best interest of Old Orchard Beach to do that.
Right, and I think that was the direction that we gave Mr. Nato during the meeting, to actually do that.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I kept asking for that, and you kept arguing with me about it.
Thank you.
Everybody did. I didn't. I was the only one that asked him to go back.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Furtado actually asked if there should be a forensic audit, which I did agree with, but that got shot down too. But I was the only one that kept saying.
Through the
Was I
chair.
not? Yes, I was. How can you tie, do you have a number to tie back to from June of 2011, June 30th of 2011? I kept asking that question, and we didn't know. And that has been my concern for a while.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Councilor Dayton is correct in the fact that she is the one that asked the question about them going backwards?
Several times.
That is correct.
Thank you.
She is not correct about saying that we all argued with her asking that question.
Yes, you did. I had no support, and I know how that trick works in executive session.
Yes,
where you
please,
can claim you don't
Councilor
remember.
Councilor Bolduc?
I have grave concern that we're now talking about executive session things and would like to ask the attorney for a recommendation on the council on discussing executive session items.
It was in the paper. I don't understand how you can say this is executive session material when it's in the paper.
It was not by release of any counselor, I don't believe, other than maybe Councilor Coleman.
Oh. Okay.
Madam Chair, you've lost control of this meeting. You're incompetent. You need to resign.
Let's not be mean. Let's not be
Attorney,
mean.
could the
It's
attorney answer
important
my
for the public to
question?
understand what this audit was all about, because it did cause a great deal of concern. Rightly so. But it's exceedingly premature.
what I'd like to accomplish, without having to have my wife call me, and read that I'm going to come to a meeting on a Wednesday night, is to accomplish some kind of time out here. How about you let us do our job, and then how about we have an informative conversation? That's what I'd like to accomplish. And I like to think that we have to be objective because that's our role. We work for everybody here in this room. We have some concerns, and I don't think that we're getting there faster to understanding those concerns, based upon what I'm hearing tonight. We just like to do our job. We'd like to certainly work with you guys, and we have every reason to believe that your management has been nothing but more than forthcoming, in working with us. And we'd like to understand so we can give you information that you can make good business decisions. To me, it's just time for a time out, and let us do our job, please.
Thank you, Ron.
Do you have any other questions of me, that could be asked? Well, I'm not prepared to sit here talking about forensic and all that. We've got so much stuff to understand before I could even advise you on what the next step is. And I don't want to use the word forensic. I don't want to use any of those words. I want to understand so I can sit down and have a conversation in good context so we can make good informed decisions here in this town. That's what I want to do. So.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and I really look forward to working with you all. Absolutely.
Yes.
My name is Chris Johnson. I live at 8 Walden Avenue. And there are a lot of people who want to speak tonight. One of the dangers is that things that may be discussed as counsel for the town and also for Mr. Pearson are aware, but perhaps ought not to be. Nevertheless, there is a central concern. There is a central concern that I have, and it isn't whether or not Mr. Pearson should stay or should go. The question is rather why, under color of authority, a member of this council approached him with an ultimatum that he could resign or be discharged, with there never having been a discussion by the council of the facts surrounding that decision, which in fact wasn't a decision. It may have been an opinion of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of you, but it was never a decision. And yet this man has been deprecated in the newspapers, on Facebook. Allegations have been made that a counsel from a very esteemed law firm in this state advised a member of our council that Mr. Pearson should be given an ultimatum without even a discussion by the council. I find that very hard to believe. You, my friends, are guilty. You are guilty of pride, of arrogance. You have done something to a gentleman who, frankly, I don't like a lot. But what you have done is a disgrace and borders on a violation of his rights. And I trust that there is a gentleman in this room who understands of what I speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak tonight? Yes.
Joseph F. Zeman. I've been here for a year. I love this town, love this community and all this stuff. but last meeting, I think, I forget, probably like 3 weeks ago, I got bit by a dog. Couldn't find the owner, asked the owner when the dog bit me, and she says, go fuck yourself. So the whole story is the week, because I'm a marathon runner, I have a small little company that's going to go international. So the next week, I met the guy that was with her. So I said, I called the police, and they said, well, we have to ask this guy if she's going to say, somebody behind here? So the whole story is, I lived in New York for 30 years. I ran the biggest hospital in New York. So my story to you people is, this dog bite that bit me here, and I don't know, the police commissioner is here or whatever. I said, you know, blah, blah, blah. I got 14 shots that really hurt really bad. They're going to charge me like 10 grand for these shots. You people that took me to the thing, they charged me $10 a mile. So this whole fiasco that I'm going to run the New York Marathon in 2013 is going to cost me like about 10 or 12 grand. I'm not going to pay it. But my whole story is to you. I know you're looking at me very casually, right? I went to MIT and I did all this stuff. But the whole story is, I want to know that I saw Judge Judy and they said, if you don't have your dog on a leash, right? It's your ability. I see you're looking at me. I really don't like that. You know, like, what are you looking at, the guy behind me? Here's the story. If you don't have your dog on a leash with control, it's on you. So this is going to cost me about, say, 12 grand, right? I'm not going to pay it. And I said the whole story between all you people in this 1, 2, 3, evidently, he was over here and now he's over there. But the whole story is, and you know, I like her because she went to Rutgers. I went to MIT. But I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, you're giving me that little funny face. I'm not going to pay the money. Now, I talked to the dog guy today, and he says, we're going to find out all the things, and he's going to send me this thing for my lawyer in New York. We have to get a lawyer from New York to here. And I got to tell you, out of all the stuff, we went through this parable sailing stuff. If somebody lands on your beach and they die, you know what they said? It's on you. So here's the story. I'm going to say this in all reality because I like her. The whole story is, I'm not going to pay 1 penny for the dog biting me. And you know the whole story is, the Scarborough police knows the guy that saw the person's dog that bite me. So I'm going to ask you one thing. I have 2 lawyers, one in New York and one here. I'm going to ask you one thing. What are we going to do about the savoir faire? I'm going to leave that alone because, you know, I have to make a flight trip. But I'm going to say one thing. This woman over here, Mrs. Robin, whatever, she's probably the best thing on this planet about this stuff. You know what? I'm going to be.
Who knew? Who knew?
That's it. I got to go. I'm going to have a drink.
Councilor
Thank you,
Dayton
Mr.
is a fan.
Zimmerman. Thank you. Lieutenant, will you please follow up on this dog bite issue? That you do that so well, if you please.
They have already,
You
Robin.
already did?
Robin, they have
You
already.
already did. Okay. Thank
I
you.
don't think we can instruct staff. Counselor Dayton.
Yes, Helene.
Helene Whitaker, Main Avenue. A good word is an easy obligation, but not to speak ill requires only our silence, which costs us nothing. Quoting John Tillotson. Tonight I stand here fighting back the ill words because it doesn't accomplish anything. What I'm fighting for is the best interests of the residents and town, public safety. Residents for many years have cried out to clean up their neighborhoods of the drug dealings, prostitution, you name it, only to fall on deaf ears. Many years have gone by with just a few arrests here and there. Town Manager Mark Pearson has listened to the complaints and gave Chief Kelly the green light to the Special Enforcement Team, which is finally cleaning up the dangerous narcotics in our town. We are proudly addressing in a positive manner the problems within our town. Over 300 plus of our residents have active arrest warrants. We cannot afford to let up. It seems our town attracts transients and people with active arrest warrants. What does that say about Old Orchard Beach? Mark Pearson, our town manager, is cleaning up our town. We need him to continue putting out the trash and bringing this town to a level of what it should be, a shining star. Doing business behind closed doors, not being all-inclusive, having personal agendas, not speaking the truth, having selective transparency, disrespecting others, and micromanaging is shedding a very negative light on our council and on our town, and trust issues are surfacing because of these behaviors. Professionalism is needed. It's a tough job, but elected councilors must do a better job. I support Mark Pearson and find him to be honest, open, and so qualified to be our town manager. The town needs a person like this with the best interest of our town in mind. No personal agendas, transparent and respectful of others. Let him finish his job. It is not the time to consider his termination. We've had too many town managers. If you can't work with him, then you know what you have to do: resign. In closing, the town cannot be accommodating councilors' needs, nor can afford to use taxpayers' money by replacing town managers to fit their needs. Thank you very much.
My name is Phil Dennison. I live in Ocean Park. I'm not here to say one way or the other about how this thing should go, but I am concerned about the process that we went through. And I'm partially concerned even with tonight's thing. Councilor Bulldog saying she's got 16 issues, and we're not going to hear them, I guess, unless you agree to have a public hearing or a public meeting in regard to your relationship and your concerns about our town manager. So this whole thing has just gotten way out of control. I don't know whose fault it is, but somebody was leaking something somewhere, because the press certainly got 2 big articles in the Portland press, no less, never mind the local press, that's done a lot of damage to this community. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying that somebody did something to have that happen. And we need to be very, very careful about that. And I think we need to proceed with a public meeting, as the town manager wants. Get these issues out, let the public hear what they are. It's your decision what you do, but I think you ought to get the input from the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say?
Mark Guimont, Ocean Park. This is a good community, and I think all of us are here because we care about this community and enjoy living here. It is unfortunate what brought us here. I think that process did not work, and it was unfair. I hope all of you will rethink that, and hopefully we can all move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one quick question, and that's to Mark. How do you feel about this whole thing? Are you going to stay or what?
Well, Freddie, it's always been my intention to stay. It's always been my intention to be a good manager. I feel that if one councilor has 16 issues that she hears on the street, and if you multiply that by 7 councilors, if all have 16 issues, that's over 100 issues. I have a problem with staff members going to councilors to inform them and bypassing the chain of command. And since there's been an allegation of a staff member that did this, I'd like to know right now who the staff member is and what the issue was, because that's a charge that's been brought out in public, and I have a right to know that charge.
John Gallo, Old Orchard Beach. As you know, I represent the Raging Tide. My business depends on this council. It depends on this town manager. It depends on what the public's perception of the quality in Old Orchard Beach is, so that they will come here, they will attend my games. I won't lose as much money next year as I did this year. We've had to deal with Mark a lot, and we've never had a problem. He's always been straightforward. I didn't get everything I asked for, but I got those things I deserved. I voted for a lot of the people on this council. I was very proud the day you took office. I would like to remain proud of this council. As someone once said, if they said it once, they said it a dozen times. Why can't we just all get along? Thank you.
Anybody else?
Will you be answering the manager's question?
Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the council, I'm Don Pylon. I'm from Saco. Am I allowed to talk?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Attorney Richardson made some very good points. The town of Old Orchard Beach is on the right track. And you hired Mark to run the town. Don't micromanage. Let him run the town. And Councilwoman Bolduc, you may have 17 items, but you need to sit down with Mark and take those issues up with Mark. Don't try to micromanage the town. You hired him, right?
No, I
Didn't all you guys sat down and hired him, right?
No.
Some of you did. But he's the guy that's running the town. Don't try to micromanage this. That's what this is all about. You are on the right track. He's cleaning the town up. Let him run the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard that. In fact, I bow to anyone else who wants to speak before me. I noticed a lull. I'm serious. Anyone who wants to butt me out of the way, please.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
who's been the biggest pain in the ass to council for several months defending this man to the chagrin of many of you? Give him another chance. Give him another chance. That's just an inkling of a suspicion. Give him another chance. And through the chair, Mr. Town Manager, who has sat down with you kindly to offer you unsolicited advice on how to methodically impress this town council so that they keep you and will refuse to let you leave.
That would be you.
Thank you, sir. There has been a loss of spin control. It did not come from a majority of this council. Statutory due process has not yet been triggered and does not apply because there are no accusations, no charges, and no investigation of any criminality, wrongdoing, or malfeasance. I'll attest to the fact that you're a fine, decent person, and you have not intentionally or unintentionally done bad things. No one has said that you have. And communicating how a few individual councilors viscerally feel based on a few inklings without any illegal quorum meeting or any vote does not constitute a firing. Therefore, to dispel a newspaper mistake, there is no contradiction between state law and the Old Orchard Town Charter, no contradiction about the town council's authority to have tried to go into executive session this evening to discreetly share perspectives about financial security and whether or not a non-accusatory, non-investigatory contract buyout, which is part of the contract, is our most functional and least traumatic remedy. This was never about intentional wrongdoing. Concerns about financial security long predate the election of this new town council majority. I know I witnessed talks, I witnessed phone calls between councilors and public records. This is about our public well-being, which shall not be abrogated by whistling past the graveyard or hiding your heads in the sand. That is not the trustworthy conduct for town council, which you owe to 8,600 fellow citizens. The entire evolution of law and governance is based on the sole purpose and commitment to protect our public well-being. Nothing else inside government merits or commands equal consideration against our public well-being. Nothing. To think otherwise reveals disrespect for and willful ignorance of constitutional law and shows a self-perilous unawareness of the center point of legal gravity. Conformative legal jargon establishes that elected legislative representatives are government officers and hired employees may be appointed officials. These are not privileged plutocrats. In America and Old Orchard, they are public servants in a glass house. Fellow humans may elect, appoint, and hire others, but it is law that assigns awesome responsibilities, the common denominator of which is, I've already said it, our covenanted well-being. All are required, all of you, required by sworn oath to understand and obey statutes and charter law as these are authority over you. You must honor the legal intent and meaning of these laws. It is deficient and wrongful if you only search for ambiguous nuances, to fabricate self-serving interpretations, to disregard and contravene legal intent. To dance with nuance is no less a charter violation. Be they skeletal, separable, and vulnerable to nuance until intent is clarified, all charter provisions are eclipsed by their fount. The first page of Article 1. Never ignore the centrifugal force there, because Article 1 assigns legal responsibilities and it defines the municipal corporation of the town. By constitutional authority, that municipal corporation of the town is defined as all of the inhabitants thereof, not the bureaucracy thereof. It then refers to certain rights and responsibilities of we inhabitants, the corporation shareholders, and our local government apparatus correspondingly represents, exercises, and executes said responsibilities. The rest of the charter specifically authorizes and regulates all of the rules that govern our government. Connected to constitutions, statutes, ordinances, and town council ordered policies. A multitude of explicit and implied legal intent exists therein for the sole purpose of and commitment to, I said it, our public well-being. That is the core of natural rights which predicate governance. We are not beneath our government apparatus, as you have seen tonight. We are its only purpose, and we pay dearly for it. With confiscatory taxes in the wake of inflation and unfunded mandates, our well-being is the job description for all government personnel, to whom we generously pay salary and benefits, the likes of which we ourselves do not receive according to the census. Our well-being does not stop and start at road paving, sewer cleaning, snow plowing, education, feeding the poor, putting out fires, or maintaining law and order with Old Orchard Beach's finest. All that and more our cumulative well-being depends on, bottlenecks through, is held hostage at a nerve center that juxtaposes between our well-being and the treasury filled with our taxes. Well-being has costs, which must be managed in accordance with standard accounting practices, in accordance with state and federal laws. That management is not the people's 9-to-5 job, but it is their business. All the foregoing commands the job description of our treasurer finance director to be control, cross-reference, verify, prevent problems, and fix problems, whether they spontaneously arise or are inherited councilors from predecessors. No delay, no excuses. To magnified degree, God bless you, the town manager's job description is to guarantee everything I have said thus far tonight by organizational skill, through full-time, due diligent, hands-on, brain-on oversight. No delay, no excuses. In further magnification, you might want to duck from this one, town councilors, statutory and charter job description guarantee all of the above. With your oversight, of the town manager's job performance. No delay, no excuses. Amid all that, I do not find a rational justification for willful disregard. Nothing commands equal consideration to our well-being. Nothing. When our municipality's financial administrative nerve center continues for several months to suffer disarray, disorder, confusion, chaos, and consequences derived from new mistakes, uncorrected old mistakes, and year-end budget statistics left unreconciled for annual audit, which is a state law, public well-being obviously suffers. When what then logically follows? Legally existed all along for elected town council officers to exercise your authority, take action, and make remedy, to manifest our well-being. That is the covenant by which you swore oath. So be it if that, God bless you, Mark, if that requires a personnel adjustment to rectify deficiency of initiative and oversight. No wrongdoing, no malfeasance. We're just not getting the job done, and gosh almighty, this ain't Walmart. We need to see a sense of imperative and honor that precludes excuses, press releases, and regrettable misuse of taxpayer resources of town hall space, government phones, computers, internet, and emails to instigate agit-prop flash mobs, feigning indignation, to contravene lawfully elected councilors who must face lawful duties. Never should we elevate political interference above our mutual well-being. Such is a hurtful disappointment. As a well-informed shareholder of our municipality, seeing unintended financial disarray and malfunction evolve to this moment, I sadly call this moment our time for a non-accusatory, non-investigatory buyout remedy. It's in the contract. By law, you are required to make remedy. A blind eye of continued deficiency would dishonor our town, would flaunt the purpose of law and governance, and should awaken you to the looming consequence that if you refuse to make remedy, that is sufficient reason for citizens to trigger due process through Charter Section 914 and beyond. For now, we can spare the extended inventory of lapsed adherence throughout several charter articles attributable to my town council. We will resolve those without controversy. I leave you only to focus on that legal covenant in Article 1, law, awesome obligations to which you all have solemnly sworn oath to scrupulously uphold in commitment to the purpose of our well-being. And for your fellow citizens who came tonight with insufficient knowledge and thus with inadvertent opposition to our mutual well-being, I know you are wise enough to let time erase from your memory voices that fell just briefly away from their own endearing atonement that we are all in this together. Forgiveness is within us. Tomorrow is a new day. And unfortunately, the way the agenda just went, you cannot right now do the honorable thing and face your solemn decision without delay or excuses. You have work to do. Thank you.
I refuse to be upstaged. No, seriously, I love this guy, and I make a motion that what he just said, we should publish as a bumper sticker. And that would be but okay. Enough of this frivolity. Seriously, guys, I would like to go down the aisle and let me know, and everybody else know, what your feeling is after this, you know, bloodletting, blood sport here we have tonight. What have you taken away from all the feelings and, you know, opinions that we've all expressed? Okay? Is that fair? I know, well, he's going to stay, but how about you guys?
I'll start.
Wait, wait 1 second, please.
I'll answer the question.
I'll answer the question.
I'll answer the question. I got no problem answering the
No,
question.
but other people want to
There's
speak.
public that wants
That's
to
all.
speak.
Hey, okay.
I guess we're not stating our names tonight. I guess we don't have to. Oh, Kathy Smith, Whispering Pines Drive. First of all, I didn't know that we needed to be begging for the town manager's position. I had no idea about that, because I probably would have begged too. I had no idea there was any question that, I haven't heard any council meetings that before tonight that there was a problem. So I'm really confused about, have I been
Exactly.
standing up begging for the town manager? I'm really confused about that.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, I'm really angry tonight. I'm going to tell you, when we voted in November, I was one of the knuckleheads that voted the 7 council. I had people coming up to me trying to say, Kathy, what are you doing? Why would you want to vote 7? I go, because you know what? Naive as I am sometimes, I think it'll be better. I think it's really going to be better. Now I'm seeing 4-3 votes, and this has got me really concerned, really concerned. I have been here since January of 2004, and I have seen 4 town managers here. And it's very hard for me to speak because not only am I an employee, I'm a resident here, and I've talked about it before, how much I love Old Orchard Beach. My roots are here. I want Old Orchard Beach to succeed. I'm so grateful to be here, to be part of a team that can help do that. And I'm really upset that this is going on. I'm concerned, again, like I said, about the 4-3 votes that I'm seeing. I'm concerned about this discussion about maybe possibly terminating our town manager. I was at church on Sunday. I go to a congregation in Saco, where it's mostly made up of people from Saco and Biddeford. There's a handful of us that are there from Old Orchard. And we got talking about politics, so I got ready to leave. And I said, you know, they're talking about terminating our town manager. And they went, again? I was embarrassed. I am embarrassed living in my town. 4 counselors in 8 years. You talk about the morale in town hall.
Managers.
4 managers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
You know what I mean. I'm upset.
We knew what you meant.
You talk about morale in town hall. Think of the shakeups we have every time a new town manager comes in. Positions are changed. People are moved around. We just get settled. Time for a new town manager. We had a difficult time this last year. There was a person that was here that some people liked, some people didn't. But it caused a lot of problems in town hall. There was a lot of shakeup, a lot of policy changes we had to get used to. And you know what? We finally settled down. I had my mom call me tonight because she knew I was going to this meeting. She said, Kathy, I want you to make me a promise. After tonight, you will forget about town politics and try to have a Merry Christmas. It is Christmas. And we are sitting here tonight talking about this stuff. 'Tis the season to be jolly, goodwill to all men. I am so sorry. I apologize for our town for this. I really do. And my opinion is that you listen to these people. What do we want? What do we want? Do we want this town manager to stay? Do we want you to stay? Remember, you are elected by us. You speak for us. Well, tonight, you know what? We're speaking for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Pierre Boutier here at Old Orchard Beach. I find it very interesting that some of the key allegations here arising from this body, at least a majority block, a power block, I'll say, in this body, arise out of financial concerns for our community, from the very same group of individuals who have failed to support the finance department here in this community, and this man's continued lobby to not only properly fund, but also properly staff that department. When the auditor is telling you that there are shortfalls with respect to the controls that are in place, and the town manager is asking you on a regular basis to properly fund and properly support the staff in that department, and then you hold him responsible for your lack of vision and foresight and support for that department. What's up with that?
I am going to try not to cry because I think we've done a lot tonight, and I think we can work this out. And if I get booed, then y'all are going to have to look yourselves in the face and say, wait, maybe she's right. We just talked about 4-3, okay? If we have a council of 5, which we had for the last several years, it was 3-2. look at the votes, look at the way they came out. So don't just look at this council because there's 2 more on it, means that the 4, it's going to be 4 against 3, because no matter what, it's not going to be even. And we have, if you look at the votes, for the last couple of years, been 3-2. So I love Old Orchard. I think we've done a great start here. I think we can open communications. I'd like to say to everybody, I want to be part of the solution. I'll help, I'll pray, I'll do whatever. But let's not mess it up by not being adults and trying to get along with each other. Thank you.
Hello, Kurt Kaler, Ocean Park, former employee. And I just want to say that I've watched from the inside here and from the outside. And over the years, to me, it's the people that have been sitting in those chairs that have dug the hole that this town has gotten into ethically, morally, and in micromanagement. You people set the policy. You hire a manager to carry out the policy. The manager is the interface to the employees. The manager should be the interface to the citizens. If a citizen comes to you, or if you have your own issue with the management, you go to the manager and you talk about that directly with him. You do not come to this forum until and unless he has told you to pound sand. He's doing it his way. This is totally uncalled for. From what I came here tonight because I read the papers and I had no idea what was going on. I've only spoken with Mr. Pearson one time. But I mean, sometimes I'm embarrassed to be from this town. And the micromanagement that goes on here and has been getting worse over the last few years just has to stop.
Mr. Kohler, can I just ask you a question briefly? Since you made the topic about policy setting, and that's our function, correct?
Yep.
So if a council takes a vote on something, and that vote isn't followed, is that appropriate as far as?
To the chair, please be specific.
Yeah, really. I'm tired of all this secret stuff.
Okay. So most recently, the council has voted multiple times on giving raises for the town employees of Old Orchard Beach. And specifically, on August 21st, a 1% raise for the staff was denied. And again, on September 4th, a 1% raise for the staff was denied.
I hope.
And why was that?
Hang on, let me finish my point, please.
Denied by whom?
The council.
Okay.
See, it was brought to the council table and laid on the council table. So the council deliberated. It was brought to the council table by a town councilor, who no longer sits up here, and trying to get the staff 1% raises across the board. Well, during the budget process, for the first time in the history of Old Orchard Beach, the council said, you know what, this year we're going to do a merit-based pay system. And we instructed the town manager to create a merit-based pay system for the town of Old Orchard Beach. It was a council objective. It was a council directive that the council asked him to do that. So because there's been a morale issue in town. I know that there has been. We've been, as a councilor who's been sitting here, we've heard that for quite a few years, for quite a few months, that there's been issues. Well, on the 21st, the 1% raise for staff was denied. On September 4th, the 1% raise for staff was denied. Again, on September 2nd, we had the town manager brought to the table for the council a raise for the HR specialist, giving her a new title to HR director, plus a $2,500 raise. That was tabled again on October 2nd. It was tabled. We took it up again on October 16th. The human resource specialists, we did. It's on the table now. The human resource specialist raise and the title change, and it was tabled indefinitely at the council level. On October 16th, the last meeting before the town council changed, the last meeting before the council 7-member council was instituted. So right now, currently, that option is right on the table. It's tabled indefinitely, so it's still, it was elevated to the council status, to the council, and it's on the table. Well, the issue that I called all of the councilors on, if they would agree, is I called them and I said, hey, first I called Councilor Tusignan, because I said, Mike, do we approve raises? And I wasn't there, because I've only missed one meeting, which was the Labor Day week, ever. So I called him and he said, no, we didn't. And I said, okay, but they got raises. A staff member came in and told me they were upset because one staff member got a raise and they heard that somebody got a raise and they didn't and whatever. So I called the town manager and I said, did you give raises? And he said yes. And I said, did the council approve it? He said they didn't have to because it's in his purview. Right?
Yep.
Right?
Through the chair, let me explain.
correct.
That is correct.
No,
That
it's
is
correct.
absolutely correct because it was part of the budget.
No, it's fine.
It was part of the budget, and it certainly was in his purview to issue raises
Not
up
only
to
that, he
and
was supposed to
including
get it-
the amount that was budgeted.
And he was supposed to get it done before January of this coming year.
And it was supposed to be
January
merit-based.
20
That's why the
Merit-based.
1% raises were denied. It was
That's
because
correct.
it was supposed to go into a merit-based system.
That is absolutely
It was a
correct.
policy that was a directive of the council, in my opinion. Since it was a,
There you go.
There you go.
That's the answer right
Through
there.
the chair, you have certainly shown a lack of judgment,
correct.
especially
No.
in regards to this matter. A shocking lack of judgment.
Okay.
And so we're supposed to take your word of how it's supposed to go down?
No, I'm just telling you how my perception of it was. So when I called
This is her fourth concern. This was your fourth concern as to why we should fire the town manager? That was it? Raises? What we've been trying to get for our staff for 4 years? I'm mad now.
And we approved them as
I'm
part of the
mad now.
budget?
I am mad now. Raises? Really? Merry Christmas.
So the council,
Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah.
you guys are questioning the process of this meeting tonight, right? That's what the questions are. It's my process of bringing this forward, allowing the council to have discussions. Well, let me tell you, the process, as a councilor sitting up here, when does my vote count? When did...
You asked him to resign when we discussed it. You asked him to resign before the council discussed it.
The policy was already in place. You were part of that policy.
Okay,
We
so-
argued about it and argued about it and argued about it for months. We finally whittled it down to a merit-based pay system, finally, which is
Through the
actually
chair?
a good idea. It's actually a good idea.
Through the chair, I don't
Yes, she
believe,
did. She-
I don't believe the policy's ever been presented
Oh,
to
my
council.
goodness gracious.
Were you there?
I've lived in town for
Through the chair,
51
it was
years.
part of the
I've been
budget.
here.
It was part of the budget that it was to be a merit-based system.
No.
Okay, so...
No.
Please,
No,
just a
no.
minute. Please, please. So let's take the merit-based system out. It was out...
That's what it's about.
It was on the council, as soon as it's elevated to at the council level, and the council votes no or tables it, is it allowed to be voted on, is it allowed to be just enacted by the town manager?
I mean, I'm not here to answer whether your policy was in place or not. But, you know, that's something that you need to get straight among you.
Correct.
I believe during your budget process, you should have received a letter from me concerning that the raises for a non-union and just advocating that you finally do something.
Right, so what
Does
we
it-
did was, we put a bucket of money aside, and we instructed the town manager to create a merit-based system.
He did.
That's what we did. And he was supposed to have it implemented, brought to the council, so that, because it was our initiative, it wasn't his. It's a policy. It's a policy.
And so a policy was instituted to give out a merit raise.
There's no
He
secret here.
executed
There's no
the
smoking
policy.
gun here.
No, I'm just saying,
Where's the policy?
The problem
Did you ask
is
for
that the chairman wants to micromanage it.
Point of clarification, Madam Chairman, about this. First point. You're correct that the vote failed on the raise, the 1% raise.
yes.
Retroactive to July 1st, and the appointment of the human resource person to a director, department head position. She has not been elevated to a director, department head level. Her anniversary date was October 28th. The discussion in the minutes reflect that once she has been an employee for a year, she's entitled to the same merit-based raises system, the performance-based merit system, as the other employees. So it's apples and oranges on the vote. You did not vote for me not to give merit-based raises. To the point on merit-based raises, I was told by the consensus of the council in the meetings, create a merit-based performance evaluation and implement it by January 1st. I created a merit-based evaluation form. I had training for the people, the people that were going to evaluate the people. One of your council members attended the training for that. He was the chair at the time. And I've instituted about 50% of the merit-based that I was told to do. I am guilty of giving raises that I was instructed to give to the employees. By the consensus of the 5-member council.
Okay, Mr. Manager, just a quick question. So currently you're stating that the Human Resource Specialist title is still Human Resource Specialist?
The title's never changed.
Okay, so my confusion on this point is, if you go to Jobs in Maine, and what I did was I looked up the most recent job description for most recent job search, and she's referring to herself as Human Resource Director for the town of Old Orchard Beach. So I don't know, and this is from Jobs in Maine. I mean, so you can see where I'm having questions about.
Not really. Why didn't you ask the town manager? Instead of going to the internet. Oh yeah, the internet never lies. I forgot.
I did ask the town manager.
Through the chair, has the chair just divulged what could be considered private information about an employee?
Public.
I don't know. To the chair.
You're bringing up something that you found on the internet about one of our employees.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Through the chair.
Yes, Councilor Bulda.
Through the chair. The attorney's invoices state any communications that have been with Human Resources have been with a Human Resource Director. The emails that are sent to town employees from that employee state that she's a Human Resource Director, and she is advertising employment opportunities for the town of Old Orchard Beach as a Human Resource Director. So
why don't you ask who gave her the title?
I did. Excuse me. I called the town manager when I asked him about the raises that I didn't know about. Yeah. And he said that he didn't give her the title. He's in charge.
I didn't.
Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. You can't have it in charge. To the chair.
I guess
am so glad we have got this out, because I couldn't understand what the issue is. But here's my concern. It's always been my concern, and I've been a staunch supporter for these raises for the non-union people. I've been one of the only ones, with Mr. Tusignet, but longer than him, even though he won't admit it, to support these. Here's my concern. Only 50% have been implemented. Why not all of them? January 1st is coming up. So what's the holdup? What's the holdup on the rest of them? What's the holdup on the rest of them? What's the holdup on the rest?
I can answer that. Madam Chair, do I have the floor?
I'd like to know, because I'd like to get it done.
There is no holdup. It's in process. I have a date of January 1st. Some of the department heads didn't turn in the evaluations of their subordinates. Therefore, I will evaluate the department heads after they complete turning in their evaluation of their subordinates.
Which department heads have not turned in their? This is ridiculous.
I would rather at this time protect the integrity of a town manager form of government and not start identifying certain departments that are related to personnel issues.
Well, okay, but if they don't get it done by January 1st, I want to know about it.
I will handle the personnel issues on the evaluations, and I don't want to make this a public spectacle about who does evaluations and who doesn't. I will take care of that with the department head.
I sure hope the message is clear. Get it done.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Mr. Town Manager, I just got a question. My question obviously pertains to some of the interim audit findings. And the one question I have is it said in there that the reconciliation of the banking hasn't been done in months. My question to you is, as as the town manager, at what point were you aware that those accounts weren't being reconciled?
When Mr. Smith brought it to my attention, as you know, we've had 5 finance directors over the past 13 months, 3 of which have been under, since I've been here, since February 15th. I would tell you that each department head doesn't bring individual issues to my attention. If you remember, from February till the close of the year was a short period of time when I arrived here. So that finance director ultimately left around July or August. I could be mistaken on the exact time frame. She was trying to close up the books for fiscal 12. It was not brought to my attention that there was a problem with reconciliations, but it was brought to my attention that there was not enough time for a finance director to be doing all of the duties she was charged to do with creating a budget for FY13, the other issues that we were finding and trying to correct, and balance or reconcile the checkbook. However, we did go out and hire a temporary worker to attempt to reconcile the checkbook. Here's the issue. Short answer. The department heads that have different revenue that comes into the town do not turn in their debits, credits, and paperwork on a monthly basis. They wait until 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Oh, an envelope just fell behind my safe, must have fallen behind my safe last February. That just happened. I just found this envelope with a $3,000 check in it, with cash in it, and with credits from February. So I say to you, how do you ever reconcile a checkbook if you don't have the department heads turning in the proper paperwork within that time frame so you can balance the checkbook? It's impossible.
Okay, so my understanding would be that, at what point did we hire an interim person to try to reconcile these books?
It was approximately around the April-May time frame.
So you basically in April and May, you were aware that the reconciliation of the town accounts hadn't been done, and they weren't being done, not when Mr. Smith brought it to your attention.
Correct. I was aware that we were working on balancing those then, but what recently came to my attention that, in his opinion, because he does a different reconciliation, that he wasn't able to verify that there was a proper reconciliation. And that goes to those missing invoices that are being turned in not on a timely basis.
To the chair, for the record, written record, I want this in the written record. I want it in the written record, okay? Not to be excluded. I want the following statement in the written record. Council did not support the continuation of that temporary. The majority of council during the budget time did not support the continuation of that temporary
staff accountant position.
Staff accountant position. And I begged for it. I begged for it. And it was not supported. So yet again, here we have a council, several of those councilors are still seated here today, blaming the town manager for financial management problems when they refuse to give them the proper resources and assets to fix the problem. And when you keep maintaining an unstable executive management in a town or government, any government, this is what you get. You get a mess. We're in a financial mess. Luckily, we have a new auditor who's willing to work with us on internal management controls to solve these problems, but this is a mess. But to blame it and lay it at the feet of a town manager who's been here barely a year is outrageous. Outrageous. Reckless. 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 Reckless behavior. That's what this is. And and to answer your question, Freddie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I tried. A lot. And the one consistent thing I've said all along is financial management, financial management, financial management. And everybody got sick of hearing it. So for whatever I didn't do, I am sorry. But it wasn't for a lack of trying. I can certainly tell you that. And I got the record to prove it.
Yes, Miss.
Hi again. You know, been here a couple hours. I got school in the morning. We're here for a reason, and you're a lot of you are just biting around the question, asking irrelevant questions to people who aren't qualified to answer them. We're here for a reason, to get things done, and if you keep just pushing back and pushing back, ending this meeting, somebody else is going to get a nice professional recommendation or whatever. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's what's going to happen. I'm tired. A lot of these people are tired. It's hot in here. We want to go home.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
If I could indulge, on December 4th, I introduced to you a new finance director. I felt that that finance director was treated very disrespectfully in this public forum. I'm embarrassed to bring a department head level position before this council, and in light of what happened on December 4th, I will tell you that if I had a department head position that I have to fill in the near future, I would go back to the December 4th meeting and say, why would I bring a department head level position before this council based on the treatment that they showed to the candidate for finance director on December 4th? I'm embarrassed. And after that meeting, I went out and apologized to her personally, even though I did not embarrass her. And tonight in the audience, we have our new finance director, Diana Azanza, and I would like to welcome her to this community and hope that she can help fix some of these financial issues. And I'd like to welcome her and identify her in the audience, Diana. Thank you for coming here.
Yes.
Pat Brown, Old Orchard Beach. I have something to say, but I have a couple of things just in front of it. Robin, you referred to the written record, and at the last meeting, I believe that it was voted in by this council that there won't be a written record, that what the minutes are going to be from this point on are going to be topic, yays and nays, and pass or fail. And I just want everyone to understand that what a significant difference that is. If that is in fact the case, if I misunderstood, that's wonderful. But if there's going to continue to be a written record, a complete written record with background, because that was the only way that people can do research on what has happened in this town as far as the past history. When the whole jet ski incident came up, that's how I found the past minutes and all the past history that stopped us from having to go back and make similar mistakes again. It's important there always be a written record.
To the chair. So I just want to clarify, I am stating what I am saying goes in the written record, and nobody has the authority to deny me that freedom.
So
if I want my statements in the written record, and I say for the written record, by God, they will be in the written record.
That's how it's done?
And anybody who wants anything that they have to say in the written record will say, for the written record. So let's be perfectly clear about that.
Through the chair.
you.
No one can tell me that my comments cannot be put in a written record, ever.
Through the chair.
Yes, Councilor Furtado.
Pat, there was some miscommunication on your end. The issue last time was the minutes themselves weren't accurate from what we received in our council packet. Now, as you're aware, we have to accept those minutes as they are typed.
That's
now,
not true. You can make changes before you approve them.
Excuse me, Councilor Dayton, I have the floor, please.
Well, be accurate.
I give you the respect.
Be accurate.
Please pass that respect
Council,
on to me.
please. Councilor Dayton has the floor.
With all that being said, the issue became, and I apologize to Louise for this, because Louise, you took it on the chin, and I commend you for taking it on the chin like it was. But the onus being was some issues in the minutes weren't correct. So it was made as a motion by Councilor Bolduc to not accept the minutes as they were typed pending corrections.
I understood
At that point, Councilor Coleman didn't quite understand how the minutes were incorrect. So at that point, it went into what was wrong with the minutes, which unfortunately, from my perspective, and I apologize to Louise, because Louise, she took it on the chin that night.
It was disgusting.
Because of,
It was disgusting.
But I must say that, and I hope from this point forward that Councilor Coleman, that maybe we ought to do a better job of looking at the minutes and reading them prior to the council meeting to know if there is inaccuracies in them. Therefore, we don't embarrass the secretary like she was embarrassed.
The question.
Hey, if I may address, since my name was brought up.
Ms. Brown.
That was wrong.
Ms. Brown.
Public on the manager in the newspaper, that was respectful.
Ms. Brown, you have the floor.
Thank you. The question
My name was
really
addressed by Councilor Furtado. I would like the chance to address it immediately.
Please do.
You may be right on that. However, the treatment that the Assistant Town Manager and Secretary of the Council received was nothing short of absolutely shameful. I was disgusted to hear what I heard.
Once it was determined, Councilor Coleman, that there were inaccuracies, the issue should have been dropped and it should have been tabled pending correction. There was no need to go into every single page of what was inaccurate. So therefore, I presumptively disagree with you. My opinion is, as soon as there was a notice of there being mistakes, at that point, the issue should have been rested.
What should have happened was that the counselors who had issues should have pointed out the inaccuracies, and then we could have voted in those revisions into the record and approved the minutes as amended.
Correct.
That is the normal procedure.
That is correct.
Correct,
because minutes will have inaccuracies.
Correct, but as you're well aware, there was numerous mistakes, and because there was so many numerous mistakes, it just had to be looked at again and fixed. There was no issue to go item by item and put the assistant town manager in a spot where I frankly was uncomfortable. Even that's why I didn't mention a thing, because it was appalling to me, the conduct.
So the question I have then is, there is no change to the way, from what I'm hearing.
No.
The minutes will still be in narrative form? They're not going to be yay, nay, and pass or fail?
That's not
what I've been directed to.
That's
I've been
what I
directed that they
understood
will
that
be,
evening.
that they will be, if I'm correct, and I did send the chair 2 emails to make sure that I'm correct, because I've spent the last week watching 2 5-hour meetings over again, that I would be just doing the motions and the votes. And I just would like to say, I'm not sure that there were a lot of inaccuracies. I think there were some errors in the votes as far as who made the motions. And I have a hard time hearing when I hear one vote and get it, and it's hard when you look up to get another. Secondly, the issue was more with Vice Chair Bolduc in the fact that I put in commentaries that are presented to me by the department heads to supplement the understanding for citizens on what the various agenda items are. I think that was the issue more than the fact that I messed up on a couple of the naming of the people who made the votes.
So there is a change in the way the minutes are going to be from this point on.
Yes.
There was a vote on that, and there is a change.
There was no vote.
So the minutes will always now still remain narrative.
There was no vote, so why does the secretary think they were changed if there was no vote?
We discussed it at the meeting. We discussed it there at the meeting, and I didn't respond to your emails about how to do the minutes, did I?
I didn't send
No,
them.
you didn't. That's why I've removed all the commentary and have
Right,
just...
but I did not respond. I did not direct the secretary anything because we didn't vote on it. The council needs to deliberate about it, see how the minutes...
Was it verbal?
We need to talk about it. And that's what we tried to do briefly at the meeting, but it got a little convoluted because as soon as we started talking about it, and then when the issues were talked about, because Councilor Coleman kept asking for materiality, it pushed... No. 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 I respectfully disagree.
And if you had questions, problems with the minutes, you should have been able to say exactly what your problems were, not her having to watch each town meeting all over again for 5 hours, taking down words, the motions verbatim. You should have had the recommendations. She shouldn't have had to retype the whole damn thing. Or watch the...
To the chair, I am confused. To the chair,
One at a time.
She had the floor.
One at a time.
I'm confused. I'm confused. So Louise seems to think there's a change. You're saying there isn't a change. I'm sorry I wasn't here, I guess. And it wasn't, and so I want to be clear, there was no vote. It was just some big, massive, horrible, disgusting conversation, I guess. And so now I don't understand where we stand. Is there a change of the minutes or not a change of the minutes?
There is
No
not.
change to the minutes. Thank you.
Good,
There
thank
you
you very
go.
much. I'm very happy. Thank you. All right, so with that, I have a question that I'll end up with, well, actually, let me just put this out there for the auditor. He can answer it whenever he feels like it, but it was mentioned many times in the last meeting that the auditor suggested that it was time to micromanage this administration. And I didn't see that anywhere in the letter, and I'd like to make sure that that is something that the auditor, did in fact recommend. But let's not get into it now. Let the auditor come up and answer that. Let me just jump in here with this. And that is, I'm just going to go down to here. Terminating a town manager usually starts as a groundswell from the people. We've seen it before. There's a buzz around town, the residents are disgruntled. That's how it happens. There's been none of that. In fact, there is praise and respect for this town manager. Things need to happen in order for this town to gain control of its finances. These things are not going to be easy, and it will not make the town manager popular with current people in charge or those who have perhaps done business with the town in ways that were not quite up to snuff. But those changes need to happen, and council needs to be courageous enough to enter into the world of total transparency. He's not a good fit, really. Maybe not for the old school, but it's a new day in Old Orchard Beach. The people want a leader with integrity, ethics, and a commitment to total transparency. Mark Pearson is that person. I know I am in the majority of the people in Old Orchard Beach who are tired of gossip and innuendos being used to discredit someone. We want our town cleaned up. We want council to move on from this, give this town manager the resources and open and total support he needs to continue to get this job done. Those of you who are not on board need to reassess if you are really suited to serve the people of this town. If not, we will give you the professional courtesy to resign. Thank you.
Hello. For the written record, Maria Turner. I actually wanted to also congratulate the town manager because I have seen him in the newspaper lately with the chief taking a hard stand against the drugs, putting together your special enforcement team, and the prostitution bust, where you put together a special enforcement team for the man that called to tell you he hired a prostitute. That was 3 days after you had 7 children beaten on town property, videotaped, multiple admissions of it by the children on Facebook, and then less than 30 days later, they were putting pictures up there of themselves punching each other in the face again on town property with gloves on. So I'm going to ask you, since you had taken such a hard stand, you have some children at risk here, do you think you could start a special enforcement team for that, and maybe your special drug enforcement team could look at these children that are posting the pictures of themselves up there with the 5 feet tall pot plant, rolling their dope, and stuff like that all over the internet in this town. So, the other communities around you see this, and they're not looking at this town. Believe me, I grew up here. I understand a lot of you are from out of state. I grew up here. So.
Yes, through the chair, may I answer?
Yes.
Maria, I'm very proud to say that Old Orchard Beach is leading the way in the state of Maine and has a new initiative here to address the bullying issue and all kinds of juvenile diversion programs.
Right.
And we have a group of 31 people that are meeting
I'll
right
be
now.
more than happy to join that
I
group.
want to commend.
I got some suggestions for you. I am. I'm joining. I'm going to do my civic duty here. Can I join your little group?
I'm not responsible for the group,
Okay.
but I certainly will pass your interest on.
Thank you.
If I can finish?
Yes.
And right now, this group here is a pilot program in the state of Maine led by the Old Orchard Beach Police Department in conjunction with the York County Attorney's Office, with the Maine State Police, and several other agencies.
Great.
This addresses the bullying issue.
Excellent.
Okay? This police department is turning the corner from being reactive to proactive, and I want to commend the police department for
wonderful. And you guys were able to do so much in such a short time with the drug thing. I'm sure that we'll see some quick action where the children are involved.
Maria, we're trying our best.
Excellent. Great.
Thank
you.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Kelsey Koenig, 38 Fern Ave. I'm not really here to address anything that's being debated. I'm not educated enough in either side of the argument. I simply want to say that as a young member of this community who's been home for 2 hours from college, that it's really disheartening and it's very sad to see a town council meeting conducted the way it's being conducted. It's rude and people are interrupting each other and there's no respect in this room. How is anything getting done? I know people might think kids my age are a little naive to what's really going on. They don't know the background story, but it's really hard to want to be involved and feel pride for your town when you see adults that you're supposed to look up to acting like children, acting so rude to each other. It's really, really hard because I want to feel pride. I want to come home and be really excited, and not just because I'm home from break, but because I have pride in everybody that works really hard to make this town a wonderful place. And I know everybody in this room feels a lot of emotion for everything they're arguing for, and I understand that, but you have to respect each other, and it's not okay to be not polite to people, even though you're feeling all these emotions. Let everybody have their peace. Don't yell in the middle of someone's talking. Don't disrespect each other while you're standing here. The person here is who can talk. The person who has the the floor can talk, and people shouldn't be degrading people as they're trying to get their point across. That's really, I don't think that's what a community is about, and it's really, really sad to come home and see that, and it's not a place that I would want to raise my children, and I would want to think that I would want to start a family. You want people to come here, you want people to enjoy it. So really look inside yourselves, find the person that you want something to get done. It's not going to get done if you're snide and rude and you're being snappy at each other. Nothing's going to happen. And I'm a child, and maybe I don't know anything that you guys are arguing, and I can't say one person's right, one person is wrong, but it really makes me just want to turn my back and be I don't care, because it's rude, it's childish, and I want to be a part of this, and I want to see our town flourish, but it's really, really sad, and it's really sad. So.
Madam Chair, my name is George Kerr. I'm from 206 East Grand Avenue. As you all know, I have businesses downtown, and it is kind of disappointing tonight. I think, first of all, not knowing that you don't have Robert's rules. Had you had Robert's rules, someone would have made a motion, as your legal counsel has said, and second, you could have had your debate and taken action. I think that Mr. Richards kind of wanted a little time out. And I think that maybe next time you should take the wisdom of not only your legal counsel, but also Mr. Pearson's legal counsel. I think today is nothing more than a family argument. I hope that's all it is. And I hope that we've all learned something for a community that I think that we all love. And I see Kathy coming up and speaking, who I've known Kathy, naturally living here. And when I was working with Councilor Mayotte on ordinance changes, because we got a feel for the community, they wanted changes. And you councilors appointed us to come back with recommendations. A lot of those recommendations didn't pass, but some did. And I believe that they enhance the community. We have a planning department that if they really went by the book, a lot of stuff on Main Street wouldn't be taking place. But Jeff and our new building inspector, they've come up and they've created a downtown for once that's full. And you as counselors were part of that, along with the town manager. And I think that I know a lot of accolades have been given to our police department. But I also want you to remember, we have a public works department, people at the sewage treatment plant, we have a lot of town employees. And for the first time in a long time, I think they've all been working in harmony. And if anybody deserved the raise, and I probably shouldn't say this, is our public works director. The roads are paved, they're cleaned. The work that the department is doing is like our police department. They're all working together. And I only hope, and I do recognize Mark Pearson's better half, his wife is here tonight. And I know that he mentioned Diane, who's been a new appointee. This is nothing more than I would recognize as a family squabble. We do this periodically in Old Orchard Beach. I've sat in those chairs, and I've served in Augusta. This is a great community. This is the way we air our feelings. Now the big issue is what comes out of this. And I can only urge you counselors, take it upon yourselves, and I know, Sherry, you're the chair. You people need to have a workshop and work out your differences so that when you come out of there, you won't be united as one. You'll always have difference of opinion. But I can only leave you with one thing. Put Old Orchard Beach first. That's all I ask you. And I know that now everybody's saying, let's hire this, let's hire that. The reality is, you have a budget that you have to live within, like we do in our homes. Not everything that is presented is going to happen. But whatever tools we give you as taxpayers, use them wisely. And when I hear that they're finding money behind boxes, I don't believe we want to hear that. And I do believe that the town manager is going to, or already has, addressed that issue. And I don't need auditors to tell us what we're doing right and wrong. We need your wisdom. You guide, you lead. Make us all follow the same rules, whether it be in zoning or planning or whatever. And if we have a problem, we should be able to come up here and address you and make changes that we see fit. That's the process. Tonight was not the process. So I only hope that our squabble, you people begin to break bread and move in the direction that we all want to see. Continue to move forward. Because we may not be proud today, but tomorrow we will be of you. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, it's Phil Dennison again. We've been a lot of talk tonight about communication and clarity, and I would suggest that the town consider live streaming these meetings to your website. More and more people in the town are using satellites now rather than the other provider, and none of us can get the town council meetings or any other meeting that's public. So I would suggest that somebody, whoever initiative it is, bring to the council a proposal to live stream this to our website. It's going to cost some money, but I would suggest that you approve it, and we might get rid of all this, I heard this, I heard that. You know, I watched the town council, I didn't hear that. So just a suggestion.
Thank you.
There are ways to do that cheap or free.
Anybody else like to speak tonight?
Hi, I'm David Putnam. I'm George Kerr's neighbor down on Strand Avenue. And I'd just like to associate myself with George's comments. I am the clue as to whether he's halfway decent or not. I'm not around here enough to know it, although I'm up here all the time. This really isn't the kind of thing that I, as a citizen, should be weighing in on. I don't evaluate the town manager, you folks do. But I think George really is 100% correct when he says that perhaps you ought to have a workshop yourselves. Just a chance to sit down and say, we've got to work better together. It's very disheartening to see yelling going back and forth. It's disheartening. I mean, it's normal perhaps sometimes, but it's not good process. And you should be able to, I think, work better together than you have been for the last couple of meetings. I came down here because I sensed the same thing going on at your last meeting when you talked about minutes. Minutes are your minutes. Somebody doesn't vote with a majority as to how the minutes should be kept. You have the right to keep your own set of minutes. That's just a legal practice. But again, I really would like to associate myself with George's comments. I thought he was right on. And I just have two other things. First, I'd like one of the lawyers to explain to me what a closed session open to the public means. That really. And the second thing is, I'd like the auditor to tell me how many meetings with clients have been similar to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, yes, I am standing behind the podium. I hope you can hear me and see me. I'm so short. No, not that joke, I know. I am so pleased that so many of us came out to support Mark tonight.
What's your name, sir?
Jim Dufresne, and I've been a taxpayer in Old Orchard Beach for over 10 years. I'm originally a Portland boy, but we've adopted Old Orchard Beach. So, but what gets me here tonight is the fact is that when I see the town, I'm taking myself to task too. When I see the town council meetings on TV, how empty these chairs are behind us. They are, I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm going to challenge everybody now to come to more town council meetings so that we have a say of what's going on. And when time permits, I will be here. Bob, it's so good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak tonight?
To the chair.
Yes.
I just would like to try to answer Freddie's question quickly, and how I was feeling an hour ago versus how I'm feeling right now is a little bit different. But this has been, this has been tough stuff. I appreciate the support from the community, from our staff, from our police department, our public safety personnel, from our administration staff, from our planning department. I see an awful lot of faces here tonight, as well as the citizens. I have a deep respect for Mark, quite frankly, because number one, he's a retired Marine. I don't know if people know that, but it commands respect right off the bat for me. He has 2 law degrees. He's been a deputy police chief in New Hampshire, and that's just the beginning of his qualifications to be a town manager. Is he perfect? Nope. Have he and I argued about a few things? Yep, like aesthetics. Maybe the finer points of quality of life issues. Yes, we certainly have. So I think we all recognize that none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. We all have our quirks and warts and whatnot, but we do all try. And I have seen so many people here tonight who've made it very clear that they do care very much about Old Orchard Beach, and I do hope that we move forward. I am particularly paying attention, Fred, to the comments about micromanaging. There wasn't too many years ago where I was accused of trying to micromanage. So I've kind of come full circle on that and learned that no, as a counselor, you're not supposed to do that. It's not appropriate. If you have concerns, I'm paying particular attention to the comments that were made about if you have concerns, talk to the town manager. Stop listening to rumors and hearsay. Get the information. If you still have issues, talk to other town councilors and let the town manager know. You know, follow the chain of command. I get that. So there's a lot of lessons learned here, Fred, to answer your questions. And you know, how I'm feeling is I feel better now than I did when I first got here. Little less anxiety. And I just very much appreciate everybody's comments and everybody's willingness to, you know, whether we like it or not, we're all still stuck together here. We're still here. But most of all, I would very much like to say I'm sorry and thank you to Mrs. Pearson. I'm glad to see you here. It takes a strong woman to sit in the audience and listen to all of this quietly and still have a wonderful smile on your face. And to Mark, again, I would also say sorry and thank you. This has been awful, but it's also been good. And I appreciate your willingness to go through it. There's not many men or women I know who would. And I think, quite frankly, that is the greatest show of commitment to Old Orchard Beach from someone who didn't grow up here that I have ever seen. Anybody to stick through this, stay put and stay for all of this, that's a huge, huge display of commitment. And I shall never forget it, and I hope that the rest of us don't either. Thank you very much.
To the chair.
Yes.
I'd like to take a little crack at Fred's question. I think we've come a long way tonight, but let us not forget why we came here in the first place. An attempted backroom deal. An attempted public hanging, but it was going to be behind closed doors. Let's not forget that. I'm disgusted that we had to be here in the first place. I've worked with many people in my life, and few have the ethical standards that Mark has. Few have been able to get into and do the job that he has right off the bat. Few have been hit with the total crap storm that he got hit with when he came here. You know, with the town facing possibly major fines from the IRS, and he brought us into compliance, something that just had never been done. You know, I think just the fact that we're here tonight, the fact that all of you have come out, or most of you have come out to support this man who really has been moving our town forward, despite the obstacles, and he keeps pressing on and doing the right thing. And I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm proud to know Mark Pearson. I'm proud of the vote I took when we hired him. I'm proud of his conduct in office. Is he perfect? No. But then most of you that know me know I'm not perfect. I see you laughing there, Fred. Fred and I, you know what, Fred and I have some differences. We got a lot, but that's all right. We do have a lot of differences, but we have a lot in common. We are all inhabitants of this 7-square-mile town. One of the smallest in Maine by area, but one of the most densely populated. And we are one of the largest communities by population in the state of Maine. So we're a very special place, and let's keep it that way. You know, giving the green light to that special enforcement team, you realize that we have 337 people in this town with active arrest warrants. Wow, that's 4% of the population. That's got to be well above the state average. You know, there's a lot of things you want to be above the state average in. That isn't one of them. But Chief Kelly has been trying to do something about it, finally got the green light. And my thanks to you and your crew, doing a great job. So, yeah, it's been a good night, I think, overall. I'm sorry that we had to get here this way, but I think that it's pretty clear that the community supports the changes that have been happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak tonight?
Wow, talk about rude.
I want to thank, well, at least one councillor, though the traditional rules of procedure are not to call out a councillor by name, but speak through the chair. So I want to thank a particular councillor who had the initiative to visit our Charter Review Commission during our 2-year process, and she recommended adding a few words to a sentence which we adopted and was passed by the voters. It's a very important part of the manager's section in the charter, something around 502.1, and it says that the town manager is responsible to ensure that all laws, from the Constitution down the pyramid through charter provisions, ordinance, and the councillor suggested what we adopted, and town council ordered policies, to make sure they are all faithfully executed. And a town council ordered policy includes a vote on budgetary matters, including when they say do not give out raises until a merit review system is developed and then brought back to them for an affirmative majority vote.
There wasn't anything like that.
We can work on that in the future. Another councillor I would not so much thank in a positive way, but thank that person for an important civics lesson on collegiality and propriety as a member of the town council, when not being a lifelong resident of this town and apparently not loving it enough, gave a quote to the newspaper that insinuated, when using the word some, that a majority of this council is ticked off at this gentleman because he has been a strong supporter of and inspirer of the police department's work on rounding up warrant outstanders and drug traffickers, the implication being that a majority of this town council is in fact somehow in loving affinity with drug traffickers, and that's why they're picking on him. And dear God Jesus, if I was on this council, I would vote for censure of that councillor who said that in a newspaper. I think we can all move forward. I guess the quickest thing I want to say right now, and it might be the gravity of this whole damn meeting, is if you've done a perfect job, and all this derived from the former auditing company dropping the ball in terms of state law that requires them to remind the treasurer, make sure you reconcile the statistics, and if the new auditor is somehow exaggerating problems in order to sell himself on his aptitude, we're owed 2 apologies by 2 auditing companies and perhaps a few other people that set concerns in motion upon this council, who I have been berating for 3 years to exercise oversight. I apologize if the process of them becoming concerned from what an auditor says has caused such controversy, and that some exuberant people with their email generated a flash mob. We didn't need to embarrass our towns like this tonight, and you are owed an apology by the process and perhaps those who we pay good money to advise this council to fulfill their statutory duty. And I echo the gentleman who said, you all damn well better participate in our process because this is your government. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak?
Through the chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to say this, that thus far with this new council, it's been a disappointment to me to be serving on the council and have something come forward in the way this has come forward. It's pitted counselor against counselor, staff member against staff member, citizen against citizen. It's been very divisive, tarnishes our image as a community when we have so many more important things to look at. Union contracts, tax redemption, library expansion. These are the things that we should be keeping our eyes on, and what we have a manager to manage and keep his eyes on. And it's been a great diversion for him, I'm sure. I hope it's behind us. I think this forum that we've had tonight has been good. Great to have all the citizens participate here. Let us know how they feel about us, how they feel about our town manager. I think this is very important, but now, as it's been said before, it's time to move forward and tackle the important job that we have as councilors and the staff has, and the town manager in particular has, and move forward.
Anybody else?
Through the chair?
Yes.
Obviously, I'm a new member of the council here, and obviously, I'm going to speak on a couple of issues that are bothering me, being new. First and foremost is the lack of, in my mind, the lack of accountability. There's numerous issues that this town faces. I mean, obviously, the audit is touching on some of those issues, but we just got our financials last Friday for the month of November. And I'm proud to say that as the former chairman of the Old Orchard Beach Ballpark, that the Old Orchard Beach Ballpark, based on the financials we received on the 4th, has $304,000 in it. $304,000, yes. Anybody wants a copy of the financials, I'll gladly give them to you. These are the issues, folks, that as a counselor, standing up here trying to make decisions whether we got to hold somebody accountable or whether what's right or what's wrong, it's hard to determine because the numbers we get are so erroneous that, you know, you want somebody to take accountability for it. And we haven't had accountability. And it's disturbing to me, just to give you an idea, that the most up-to-date financials we got, the ballpark has $304,000. Now, anybody agree with me? Yes, so, you know, with that being said, you guys want us to be fiscally responsible as a council of watching your money and spending your money? Well, where did the $304,000 come from? If it's not there, why was I given information stating that $304,000 is there? And it goes consistently from month to month. Now, I don't want to hear the idea of staff. I mean, and I understand Mr. Pearson's been here for 9 months. I understand he's been here for 5 months on one fiscal year, 4 months of the other. But at some point, folks, somebody's got to be held accountable. And I ask you, because you guys are my constituents, at what point and who do we hold accountable?
You were the head of the ballpark commission. How about you? How about you?
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. So
you had never came forward with a financial statement. You never came forward with one. I asked you for one.
That's
you
not
didn't
true.
Have it.
That's
you
not true, Robin.
Yes,
Robin, that's not true. But you know what?
Okay.
If I was able, excuse me,
this is ridiculous.
Councilor Furtado, you have
if I had the if I was able to obtain $304,000 on behalf of the ballpark, then I think I should be commended for that.
Do you know how to read a financial statement?
Yes, you
Did
want
you
to see
look
it?
at
You want me
both
to show it?
sides?
Do you want me to show it?
It's old. This is April.
Oh, do you want to see the new one?
Did you? Yeah, give me that one. See if you look at both sides of the equation.
Wait, no, let me review the new one.
Sure.
The new one.
I believe
to the chair, I don't know
that-
what this has to
I
do with the
believe
town
that
manager.
is an
Wait, 1 second, please, sir.
in-house situation at the present moment that you must take up with the city manager.
Correct, and I understand that, but the point becomes...
Well, let me finish. Let me finish. It is a situation that you must take up with the man that handles the budget. You find out what the story is. The auditors are doing their part. We've already put a table on this whole thing, kibosh on it. We don't want to hear any more about that. You discuss it with Mark. You discuss it, find out what the story is with the auditors, and that's it. I mean, we discussed this whole matter out, and we've all had our opinion, but you're digressing.
No,
Digressing back to what, you're digressing back to what.
No, I'm asking
we
you.
talked about yesterday.
What I'm asking you is, at what point do we hold somebody accountable, and at what point do we turn around and realize that the financial statements, because we asked last meeting
right ahead.
about the financials, and we were told with this new updated financial list
supposed to
that
be
this is the
scared
most
now?
accurate and up-to-date one.
And yet it's not complete.
It's not. So
Okay,
how
when
can I
you
make
get a
decision?
complete statement,
Mr. Chairman, please ask
you get
Counselor Baldock to stop threatening me.
when you get a complete
I'm not
statement,
going to stand for being threatened.
Sir,
I'm not going to stand for being threatened.
Counselor Dayton?
I'm
When you
not
get
going to
a-
stand for it, Sherry.
Okay.
when you get a complete statement, Dana, then when it comes final from the auditor, then that should be discussed. But it's not.
This is the
it's
new
not
year.
really.
This is the new year. They ain't ordering this. This is the current fiscal year.
They're still working on.
They're working on last year. They ain't doing anything to do with this fiscal year.
Good.
This is the financial issues that the town faces.
It's called
Yes, Mr.
carryover.
Kerr.
Chairman McDonald, member of the council, I think this has been deliberated long enough. There are no winners tonight. Don't try to pick a winner. There are no winners. I would urge this council to make a motion and end the public hearing, and then go back and think and watch what you look like on TV. There will be no winners if this thing keeps going. We don't want winners. We want a consensus. And frankly, no one respects one another on this council. I'm dumbfounded over it. All the years I spent in public office, I've never seen anything like it. There are no winners tonight. The losers are the townspeople. Let's end this discussion. Go back and regroup. Let's start over. That's all I'm telling you. It's over. End it tonight. Enough is enough.
Madam Chairman,
Through the
I'd
chair.
like to make a motion to
Through the
adjourn.
chair.
Second, motion to adjourn. Second.
I don't think she's recognized anyone
Made a
yet.
motion.
Through the chair.
Yes, Counselor Bullock.
I'd like him to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We're adjourned, Council. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming.